welcome, ladies and gentlemen, on this Wednesday evening in Africa. I'm not sure what time it is anywhere else. Tai, you guys like how? Yeah, you're like 2 hours behind us, so you were in the afternoon, evening, as well. Glad to have you guys with us again this week, and we welcoming back OG Loke. We haven't seen you in a minute. Glad to have you with us. And on tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, we have a tense, tight show for you. Introducing first, I'm kidding. So yeah, guys,
What the
welcome.
fuck are we
Glad
doing?
that's my wrestling announcer voice. Glad to have you
Mm,
with us. We hope we have a packed show. So basically, what Ty and I like after our Alpha Friday show, what we discussed was that like, hey, we actually didn't cover the main topic, which was basically Asha Sharma and what she's been up to. So we're gonna try and like fill those gaps because we got so involved in that 32-bit, 64-bit era conversation that it sort of like took 4 hours for us to actually finish it. My bad, my bad. I take full responsibility as the host for letting Tyre run away with the show with these offside
You just love your L's, bruh. That's all it is.
with these imaginary W's. No man has more imaginary W's than actually there is a man. His name starts with a D. His surname with a T. That man has as many L's. Sorry, I mean as many W's as Ty. Him and that man share a lot in common in terms of W's. Anyways, let's start with you, Ojilo, because we haven't heard from you in a while. And Fuzzy and Raichi, and a couple of other guys in the stream have been asking me, where is this guy? Why is he not here anymore? Welcome back, Luke. It's been a minute, man. Tell us what you've been up to. I know your stream is on, but like your stream, man, like your stream does not comply to African time. Whew. Luke,
yeah. This shit is fun, man. My stream is fun. 3 a.m. in the morning, motherfucker. They say the early bird gets the what?
No, I said for us Africans it's 3 a.m. For Americans it's normal time, right?
Yeah, then there's also British Central Time to consider.
Yeah, but I mean like that's very close to our time. That's colonial time. Colonial time that's okay.
Are you saying they took our time as well, Oshus?
My man,
Anyways,
they took Thai, they with a whole bunch of other Africans, and then they took our time.
No.
Who took who? What the hell?
Oh shit! Ty didn't get it. Thank goodness he didn't.
Yeah,
it's very racist coded, Ty. You don't.
No, it's not.
You don't want to know.
No, it's not.
You don't want to know. It's colonial coded. Fine.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, what was that mean? Like, I was colonized.
Yeah,
is that what we're talking about?
my yeah, you colonized us.
Like, what? I need to understand this joke so I can laugh as well.
This guy.
No, we're talking about all the things that were expropriated from the continent, Ty.
Oh, so
including time. Anyways,
they took the brains,
my
bro.
podcast is
took the brains and left you out there.
Oh God. So you are the brains, Ty.
I am the brains.
Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness. My podcast has been going fine. Unfortunately, it looks like I might not be able to do the show tomorrow. No, the day after tomorrow, because some shit with the IMF and the Mozambican bank and our credit cards, debit cards, everything is being declined. Like, can't pay for Netflix, can't pay for Game Pass. Like, it's all fucked on this end. So yeah, I don't know how that's gonna go.
Who's now busy with the?
I don't know how that's gonna go. I don't know how that's gonna go long term, but yeah, that's how it's going so far. Right now, I'm playing Hades. By the way, Hades 2. Sorry.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So how you find like you played this game before? Because Hades 2, not 1. What's like so I know both games were very acclaimed. I probably spent like an hour in each game, and I sort of like pieced out. Not really my cup of tea, but like in terms of like against the broad or game-wide acclaim that those games have received, or industry-wide acclaim that those games have received, does Hades 2 live up to the hype? Is it Game of the Year material in your opinion? In terms of
It's
what
not game. Even Hades 1 was never Game of the Year material, but I played the shit out of Hades 1. I had a blast with it. I'm looking forward to it. So
Mhm,
sorry. I had fun with Hades 1, and I'm looking forward to Hades 2. I'm having fun with it right now. Dude, if you've
mhm.
played MGS 1, MGS 2 is more of MGS 1. So what I'll tell you,
Yeah.
Oshis, is if you enjoyed the first one, definitely get on this one. If you didn't
Mhm.
enjoy it, brother, there's nothing new here.
Okay.
That's what I'll say. It's a very good game, but again, like you said, it's it's a specific genre, and
So,
I'm not even a big fan of this genre, but this specific franchise clicks for me.
so would I be right in saying that, because I feel those games are very overrated? Would I be honest if I say that, like, well, the games have an element of being overrated, right?
No, it's like saying
You
Dark
think they
Souls is
deserve?
overrated.
So you think they deserve to be Game of the Year?
It's like that. Like I said, it's like Dark Souls is overrated.
Hmm.
For the people that it clicks for, Dark Souls is absolutely one of the greatest of all time.
For you,
For the people that doesn't click for, it's pointless. It's pointless
no, not
trash that you
yeah.
have to bang your head against the wall. For the people that it doesn't click for
I'm
me,
talking about
I
you now
feel this.
specifically.
Yeah, I would say Hades 1, and I don't know how Hades 2 is going to shape out in terms of the story. But in terms of gameplay, Hades 1, for me, one of the best games I ever played in my life. Like
So you
sweaty
think it's worth
palms,
Game of the Year?
heart, heart pounding out my chest and everything. Yeah,
You
for
think it's
me
Game of the Year?
personally, but I do understand. Yeah, but there's two levels of game of the year, and I don't want to turn this into a game of the year situation, right? Or podcast, but there's two levels
Yeah.
to game of the year. There's game of the year for me, then there's consensus game of the year. You know what I mean?
Okay. For you,
I
not just
don't
about
think
you. I don't
any of
care.
the Hades games will ever be consensus game of the year. For me, yes,
Oh, okay.
yes,
Well, that's all that's
Hades 1 definitely. Hades 1 definitely.
okay. No, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Um, so anything else you want to tell us about your journey and what you've been up to before we go
I
on to
finished Returnal. That shit was a fucking
yeah.
blast. I've put in over 50 hours into Crimson Desert. Oh my god, those guys, like fucking wizards. I love that game. The story it's not great, but it's not bad. It's mid. It's okay. But the gameplay, the options, fucking S tier. Uh, I obviously had to uninstall Football Manager for me to be able to do all this progress with other games. I want to play Pragmata, but if I'm being honest, I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't know about that $70 price tag, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to pay $50 for Pragmata, bro. I'm sorry. I know it's
Yeah.
good. People are having fun with it, but I'll wait, bro. I'll wait.
Just listen
That's
to
all.
everything that you just told me. Like the fact that you actually
Yeah.
played Crimson Desert and you actually ended up liking it. Like we were having this conversation a while back. I think
Loved
you
it.
really
Didn't like it. Loved it.
yeah, I think you represent the atypical gamer here. I think if I'm looking for an example of what's the core
What?
atypical gamer, I can throw a dot and it'll hit straight at your forehead.
Atypical or typical?
Like typical, like
Atypical or typical?
no, sorry, typical. You are like no, the typical. Well, you're probably
Ah,
atypical if we're talking about gamer, but you're the typical hardcore gamer. The fact that you
because the thing
resonated,
is,
that game resonated with those guys, the guys that like, the Souls type games, etc., etc., that are into
the
all
puzzles
that
were
type.
fun. I heard a lot of shit. I heard a lot of crap on the puzzles, but the puzzles are fun. They're not crazy, complicated. I didn't have to look up anything.
Yeah, you sound like one.
I
of
think
those
a lot
guys.
of people are just lazy. Oh, bite me. Whatever.
I think you are one of those guys. I'm convinced that you are one. You're the guy that we always talk about when we talk about the core inverted commas gamer.
Lord.
That's not that you should be elated. You should be freaking happy. We're calling you
Bullshit. You guys say that. You guys say that with your tone of like, oh, this guy's a sweat. He's a sweaty. He's one of those guys in his fucking basement.
No,
It's just that he's married, right? It's just that he's married,
Yeah.
so we can't say in his mother's basement. Screw you guys. I know
No,
how
there's
y'all
no
play.
such
I know
like
how
no.
y'all play.
There's no such
I am not
negativity.
surprised. Look like Crimson Desert. It just kind of.
You see. Listen to his tone, bro. Listen to the disdain in his tone. Oh,
You guys are gonna have me giggling this entire podcast. Sorry, so Ty, please elaborate
Hi, Ty, I
on
missed
this
you.
because we've spoken about this, Ty. Please elaborate before
It's
you
just
just tell us about you.
It's just it's a slop game that's not AI. That's all it is. It's just slop. Just big huge sandbox, swords, you gotta fight this, gotta fight that. No direction, no story. Just go and do dumb fun. Like it's nothing. Like it's garbage.
Yo, Ty just pulled the drive one.
So you're telling me this guy likes
But I
slop
just
games?
got
I mean,
done.
listen, if this game, was made by Western devs, look would hate it. In fact, there's a Western version of this game.
Hades
It's
1
called
and 2
Assassin's
were
Creed
made by
Shadows.
Western devs.
You see, that's a good.
Hades 1 and 2 were made by Western devs.
No. But it's indie, so therefore you love it.
So I like this. I like the direction of this.
You got me.
Everything, listen, if it's indie, it's fantastic. If it's Western AAA, disgusting, trash. Shadows, fuck no. But hey, replace Yasuke with a Korean-looking guy. Well, okay.
Hey, I played Shadows. Leave me out of your
Actually, that's
Shadows,
good.
your
I'm
Shadows
glad
stuff.
you brought that up. So, and this is, I think, and I don't want us to go down this rabbit hole and get jacked into this, because we can get carried away sometimes. So you said you played Shadows, right? And
Yeah.
you played Crimson Desert. So my next question is, in terms of a good game at that level, which one would you say is better in terms of game design, everything overall, between Shadows and Crimson Desert?
I would say Crimson Desert is better because although like Ty said, right, they don't give you a direction, they don't really tell you what the fuck to do, but that's kind of the magic of it. You want to role play you being a random swordsman in a random universe. I like the feeling of, let me just go north, let me just get this trail and I'm going north, and then a whole bunch of shit just escalating, and by the time you get to the ocean on the other side, like 20 hours have gone by. You've lived through I don't know how many adventures. You've bumped into I don't know how many characters. You've discovered mechanics and all types of random stuff has happened. It's one of the magic things. And Ty, I know this is gonna piss you off because it cuts into your narrative, right? It's one of the things that made Fallout so magical. Of like, let me walk off into this direction. And instead of you walking off into that direction and almost nothing happening, or you getting level blocked because you shouldn't be here right now, like what Ubisoft likes to do, right? There's no level gating, there's nothing. The story, there's actually a story. There's actually things that are just going to fucking happen if you go in that direction. Full cutscenes and everything. You know what I mean? So for me, that was a big plus. The exploration for me was not a negative. The fact that they don't hold your hand about exploration. Second, I really enjoyed the puzzles. I don't remember seeing many of them in Assassin's Creed, but I really am enjoying. I haven't finished the game. I'm enjoying the puzzles in Crimson Desert. Now, I'm not a
Wow.
big puzzle guy, right? Because I hate Resident Evil specifically because of them motherfucking puzzles and those keys that are located in random ass places, right? So again, this one, the way this one is designed, it works for me. And lastly, the battle system in Crimson Desert is way superior to Assassin's Creed. I don't have to get into the details because before this game even launched, people were talking about the amount of options here. This sounds like vaporware, and they fucking delivered. So yeah, those three things. To your question, that's why I think Crimson Desert is superior.
So and again, like I'm glad you set it up like that. Specifically, and I'm glad that you brought up things like story, exploration, all the things that people call Ubisoft, right? And the reason
Yeah.
I'm referring to it as that is because it's the same thing that Ubisoft gets slated for. So you saying that this game does all those things better than, say, Assassin's Creed Shadows,
No, the
Assassin's Creed
story, the
Valhalla?
story, the main story is mid. The main story is mid. The side stories are very funny. Yeah, I'm having a blast with the random stories, the random encounters. Oh, that shit is good. I don't know if it was AI that wrote it, but I'm really
And
enjoying
you're
the side
saying that
stuff.
and you're saying that particular mechanic is better than Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yes, yes.
So
In my
I'm
opinion.
actually gonna like, side with low care on this. One of the things that Crimson Desert that I always felt it has over Assassin's Creed, not that Assassin's Creed doesn't do well on this aspect, but I think the gameplay for Crimson Desert looks a lot more diverse. It looks very unique, and I think it has a different spin. Like things like the RKO, all these special abilities. I think it turns the game into like a bit of like a dumb, fun hack and slash kind of game where you're just really cool badass. Now, Assassin's Creed doesn't really do that from a combat perspective. It does it in different ways because it's more of a stealth game. So there's actually stealth parts that, like, if you like stealthing, then Assassin's Creed is more for you than Crimson Desert. But for sure, Crimson Desert looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a hack and slash kind of
Okay,
game,
wait.
and I think it's the universe as well. One my critique of Japan is that as beautiful as it looks, I don't really feel the determination to go explore at all, like I did with Origins, and while I'll definitely I can probably feel confidence into like Assassin's Creed Shadows has better maybe side stories or is better written, because there's so much of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think it doesn't necessarily lean to a game that you want to keep playing for a very, very long time. Whereas if you're somebody who wants dumb fun, oh, definitely Crimson Desert seems the game for you. Like Crimson Desert, you can traverse with like some kind of flying mechanic and material. Like there's just a lot of things that the game has.
The mounts.
Yeah, the mount. So I think the fact that like it has a lot of this diversity in it, and I think the fact that it's also it's different. It's not Japan. It's a whole brand new world where you can kind of play with different elements. So you can see train tracks, even though it's a fantasy game. I think these elements allows it to surpass Shadows. So I could see why someone like Loke would actually like it, or even people in general who just want like a fun time, like a good time. But Crimson Desert is not for me or for you, Oshos, because I think if we like story-based games, Crimson Desert seems to fall flat in that element. Like to me, like I just can't play a game where I'm just hacking
the main
and slashing.
story specifically.
Yeah, so
I mean, I saw some of the side story stuff and it didn't look anything special to me. Like Crimson Desert is a game that I'll play for like a couple of hours and I'll just throw away.
Yeah, so for me, aside from the story, it is the character-driven stuff that I like. So again, like my favorite, and again, the easiest example I can give is that my favorite games are made by BioWare, and all those games are story and character-driven. And the fact that you, as the player, get a lot of input in terms of how you customize that player going into the world and how they interact with the world. So there's no appeal for me in terms of that. Cliff is the most stock stand. Like there's nothing like from a superficial. I've never played the game. Like there's nothing about that game I look at and I say, "Ooh, I would love to experience that." Even the Legend of Zelda things that they do in that game, I look at those and say, "Well, you know what? If I want to do that, then I'll just go play Legend of Zelda." or play. A good example is I feel that like all the Assassin's Creed games that I've played and I like probably do those things more effectively in the way that I like them. And I'll name drop my favorite Assassin's Creed game, which is Odyssey. Then I'll bring up Origins, and then I'll bring up Valhalla in terms of variety. And I think like in terms of variety, in terms of mission types, in terms of the type of things you can do in the, for instance, all the stuff you talk about like mounts and stuff like that, where you can turn into things. You can do this in the Assassin's Creed DLCs. Like if you get the Game of the Year edition, you know, like, and which is like I bought the game when it launched, and I bought all those things eventually when they came out. All that stuff you can do in an Assassin's Creed game. Like there's not a single thing that I think that game does. Maybe does it differently, but there's not a single thing that I think that game does that an Assassin's Creed game has not done and received criticism for it. That's my problem with that game, is that nobody, like for instance, Valhalla is a good example of that. There's nothing like that game, in my opinion. If you had to ask me, Valhalla is a far superior game to Crimson Desert, and it, I mean, like Valhalla did sell like almost 30 million, but
well, I didn't play Valhalla, so
slated for it. Taya, have you played Valhalla?
No, yeah, Valhalla is good. One of the things about the RPG Assassin's Creed game is that they all do very different things well. And Shadows was supposed to be I guess you could say, like taking the best parts of each of those things. Unfortunately, I think where Shadows really falls flat is the diversity of Origins and Valhalla and even Odyssey. I think Shadows really does a bad job at it. It's like exploring Japan is not as fun as exploring Egypt or exploring Greece, and as you said, exploring Valhalla. No, but Valhalla was fun to explore. Like you could argue it got a bit repetitive at some points, but there was always something to kind of see, and there was always like interesting story points. Like, I enjoyed Valhalla, and I was maybe more eager to enjoy. I was maybe more eager to explore Valhalla because there was maybe more key, interesting things I liked. Whereas with Shadows, I find myself being like, the world just didn't feel good to explore. It looked pretty, but that was about it. So I think Ubisoft dropped the ball there in the and it could be, listen, they were trying to be more immersive. They're trying to, like, let's not make it as fantastical, all these kind of things, right? And one thing I always say is, like, it's something fun. They said that they didn't want people to hunt animals, which is fine. They wanted to respect that time, that time region, but it's not hunting animals fun. Well, I think it was fun. I like that in Valhalla. I like being able to, catch different animals and all that kind of, you know what I mean? So I think sometimes, it was cool. Valhalla was
a lot of people forget about the raiding mechanics in Valhalla. Like, if you didn't want to play the game, you just wanted to see how much you can level up.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, you're right. Valhalla lets you raid. It also gave you the ability to obviously like build your base. You could also call in enemies to help. Like, Valhalla was interesting, and it was good. It did a lot of things well. The boat riding as well. There's just a lot about Valhalla. Like, even I remember playing not Origins, chariot racing in Odyssey. Valhalla gave you Orlog, the mini games, the drinking games. There's all these things in Valhalla that made it feel alive. And in Shadows, it doesn't exist. Like, you have like some, Yasuke can play a game where you can shoot some arrows, and now we can do certain things. I'm just like, but where's the life in the game? And I think that's where it really falls short.
Sorry, let me just get to the community and to the chat. Vincent is here. Welcome, Vincent. It's been a while since we've seen you.
Big.
Glad to have you with us. we have the OG with us today. I think you were one of the people that was asking us about this guy. He's here. You can see him. Rachel, glad to have you with us as well.
Smash the like button, everyone.
Yeah. The OG is on the point there. Please smash, if this is your first time here, smash the like button and the follow. And it does make a difference to us. Sorry, Taya, please continue.
Well, before we bounce off from the Assassin's Creed, then I'll say one thing. I know, like, we had this discussion some time ago about not sticking to the core, right? So, for example, I gave you the example of Altered Carbon, which is the book, the TV show, right? Netflix made a TV show, and how for season 2 they followed the book, which is get rid of the main guy, the main girl, and do it all again. And I said, this is the time where you dismiss the book and you do it your own way, because for the visual audience, it's going to make more sense. I'm saying the same thing for the next Assassin's Creed game. I don't really care if you're going to choose, some time period where buildings are not really as high rise. The next game has to have high rise. It just has to. Assassin's Creed works really well when you're jumping from rooftop to rooftop and you're escaping and you're doing all these really cool parkour things. Japan, in that
you're
at that time
being
period,
an assassin.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Like Japan in that period was very village like. So it's not you're sneaking around, but you're not really doing much parkour, and you just nerfed one of your key points, your key selling points of the game, all because you wanted to stick to the time region. No, it's still a game. So listen, maybe don't go to Japan.
We're actually dumb. There's other points. There's also parts of Japanese history, Tai. Like they could have used the excuse of we need the rooftops to be like, guess what? We're getting modern Assassin's Creed. They could have done that for us.
So my thing is this, right? I just want to address Ty's point about like the architecture and how everything is set up. So I played Odyssey, which of course this was Greek or Greece, and I thought there was enough opportunity for parkour at every single level. You had a chance to use your parkour abilities. Just of course now they added, like I get where like Loke is more of a purist talking about assassins. I never really cared about the assassins mechanics. All the games with the assassin mechanics I've never finished, but the games that I did play almost to completion were all the games that didn't really have or focus on those assassins mechanics, which is what I think they did with Shadow. They tried to go back to that. But in terms of role-playing games, I always say to people, if you want to play the best or some of the best Western role-playing or action role-playing games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, in terms of just how it's scope. Story, probably not your best bet, but those games allow all the stuff that you guys are talking about parkour, freedom of movement, having like mounts that end up being eagles. Like whenever they release the fun, like, and I don't know if everybody gets to this when they play the Assassin's Creed games, but I learned this first through I think Origins and then Odyssey. The expansions go all out. There's mutants, there's all sorts of like supernatural things. You get powers that you don't get in the base game. Like for instance, I know in is it Valhalla or it's what Ragnarok expansion, you can actually, because you don't even play Evo, you play like a god. So you can actually turn into an eagle, a wolf, and you can do all that traversal and whatever. So I won't lie, I love the fact that when Ubisoft goes all out, they go all out. I just feel that unlike GTA or unlike Rockstar, their stuff doesn't come off as polished. I don't know
what I would say for that. Ubisoft games don't come out as polished.
No. I'm saying like Ubisoft, for instance, like Valhalla, the weakest part of the game was the story. It's still better than a game like Crimson Desert, I'm pretty sure, but it's the thing that you're least invested in. What you're invested in is building out your village, recruiting people, raiding. The mechanics are addictive enough and the mechanics I feel are to a large extent are polished in terms of what you get to do in the world. What's not polished is the narrative experience, and it's also which is important in getting you invested in all the stuff that you have to do in the world. So it just ends up feeling like busy work.
Okay.
That is my only detraction from anyone that's saying, well, and this is why I'm very I don't want to say anti-Crimson Desert, but I am very cautious of the people that will be the first ones to call out Ubisoft. But at the same time, they're going to jump on a game like Crimson Desert, which doesn't do anything that, in my opinion, is original. but sort of like bounces off everything
in your
else.
Opinion. In your opinion.
In my opinion, and I haven't played the game. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me
No.
just put the chat.
That's why it's important. Okay.
Okay, cool. So, Rachie says, "Don't want to ride a dragon AC." I mean, like, if they made like a Middle Ages based Assassin's Creed game, which I don't think they have. I mean, I think the Renaissance is what they did, which is closest. They'd probably put dragons in it because if you like, for instance, with Odyssey, you get minotaurs, you get all the Greek mythology stuff. So, Rachie, you are probably at some point in time in the future, if Ubisoft is still afloat, get a Ubisoft game with dragons. Japan sucks not because of the lack of huge buildings. It sucks because their attention was divided, and what was divided because of the brute Yasuke. Oh boy, here comes the Yasuke takes. Richie, please don't start
That's
with the
true.
Yasuke.
No, dude, it's called Assassin's Creed, bro.
No comment. I'm not gonna. You're not
makes
gonna
sense.
Luke. And then Rachie says resync was all hands on deck. I don't care. Can I be honest with you guys? I don't care for this Black Flag remake. I'd love to know what you guys. I think there was a trailer that came out this week. I'd love what you guys think. I've played that game. I looked at it and I was like, man, I don't like. There's nothing. And again, I didn't care for the Assassin's Creed games before the mythology games or trilogy. So to me, I'm not interested. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Rachel goes on to say, for many people, the RPG trilogy is the equivalent of Mass. What? Rachel, get out of here.
Oh,
get
my
out
God.
of here, man.
I need to see evidence. I need to see evidence.
The RPG trilogy.
I need to see evidence.
Let me just address
this.
I get where you're coming from, Rachel, right? There are people that feel the way that you do. A huge part of the Assassin's Creed.
There are some crazy people.
No, I don't think they're crazy. I think it's fair. If you liked Assassin's Creed 1 to Black Flag, and then you feel that like all of a sudden Ubisoft is now trying to do something different with your IP, I agree with you. What I will say though is this, Rachel, and this is what I think I've had this conversation with both Luke and Tai, is if it was up to me, I would have never made Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla Assassin's Creed games. I would have made that a mythology series on its own. Because those are completely different games. I'm not good at the normal Assassin's Creed games. I don't like the assassin thing. But I loved Origins, I loved Odyssey, and I loved Valhalla. And then they released this one what was the latest one that they released that went back to all that Assassin's Creed stuff?
The one I'm talking about is
Before Shadows.
The expansion, right?
Yeah, well,
Mirage.
Game, but it was meant as an expansion. The one about
Mirage.
Fuck that game. Like, I don't care for that. Like, nothing in that game interested me. I played it for a while. I was like, nah, this is the same old shit that I didn't like in the old Assassin's Creed games. So, Rachel, I disagree fundamentally with you because I love the mythology games. I love the Souls-like RPG mechanics in those games. But let's hear for my two compatriots. What happened to Luke? Did we lose Luke? Taya, please go ahead.
Assassin's Creed games before, as Rachie says, I mean, they're different, right? But I do see it, I could see it as a natural step because you're still doing the same thing. You're still parkouring, you're still killing people. The difference is now you can talk to certain people and do missions, you know? Like it's, I don't know if there's that much of a, like, is it conceivable that, you know, we go from Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed Shadows? Yeah, I could see it, you know? Sorry, not Shadows. To the trilogy of the the RPG ones. No, I can see it, for sure. So I don't think it's too much of a reach.
Okay, I fundamentally disagree with you, but like because I just feel that like mechanically those games play very different. If you go and play Black Flag and you play Odyssey, unless you knew that those were two Assassin's Creed games being made by Ubisoft, you would not even think the two games are related. Because the amount of stuff in Odyssey that actually involves actual assassinations, or even in Valhalla, is almost non-existent compared to how that mechanic is so instrumental when you're playing Black Flag, when you're playing the likes of Assassin's Creed 2, etc. The whole game is built around that. That's my only thing. And I just felt that, like, for me, if I want to play stealth, I'm not interested in medieval stealth or that type of thing, which is why I played those games, but they just never really grabbed me in that way. The same way Assassin's Creed fans that are that are big fans of the trilogy and then Black Flag are.
Yeah, fair.
Agreed. Okay, cool. So sorry, ladies and gents, we've lost. Excuse me, Loke. So Ty, introducing the show, I just mentioned the fact that we wanted to just talk a little bit about the stories that we actually didn't end up not covering last week, which was primarily, I think, before we do anything else, we're 30 minutes in, 36 minutes in. Let's get into all that Asha Sharma stuff that happened last week that we meant to talk about. Particularly all the changes that she's made on Xbox since she showed up. And I want to pick your brain particularly in terms of, like, even now, because I saw a story now before we even went live, that she's even done something, and it might be minute or super small, but she's done something as change all the emails within the Xbox teams from Microsoft to all giving everybody an Xbox email. So she's doing all these little tiny tweaks, which I think are great for morale for the teams. We still have to wait and see how this translates to the actual community and the Xbox consumer base. So yeah, I want your take on this when it comes to Asha's tenure so far.
So one of the things you mentioned there was the changing of the Xbox, back the emails back to Xbox. And I'm going to say, like you said, it's good for the morale. But the first thing you should really do first and foremost is get the people on board, the people who are making the games, the people who are the ones who are going to be pushing out these updates. You need them to be your driving force, and then the consumer, right? Because the people making these products, the people behind, are not in support of what you're doing. They don't feel great about their job or their work. Then it's going to have a negative effect. If Xbox employees are happy and they love working for Xbox, that should translate into the consumer, as long as obviously you're doing what the consumer wants. So first and foremost, she changed, the headline from, Microsoft Gaming to Xbox. First step. Second step, the postering Xbox on all the walls, all the glasses. Also, okay, that's a good step as well. Next step, we're providing updates to the Xbox console. Okay, that's good, because now we have this device out there that we feel strongly about. We think it's a great device. Everyone says it's a great device, but it's not selling. Okay, but she's saying we're not giving up on that device. In fact, we're going to refocus on the generation and we're going to support it. Okay, so that's good. All this is bringing morale towards the people within the Xbox ecosystem and people who are working under Xbox. And then you bring Game Pass down, which brings in more vibes, but I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. So overall, her tenure in the last couple of months has been what you would expect from somebody who is limited in what they can do, but they're doing everything that they can to right the ship. Yo, what's up? Is Asha's gone? Asha's, I don't know if you're on mute. Okay, I guess I'm in charge of the show again. Okay, going to the chat. Asha's is gone. Richie says, I forgot I played an hour of Black Flag on Switch during the Resynced reveal. The Resynced looked really good. I enjoyed it. I haven't played Black Flag before, so to me, this is actually something I could see myself buying. Unfortunately, out there, so who knows, right? Next up, Vincent Vega says, just for an hour time, sync man. Reggie says Black Flag is a 360 game. And Vincent Vega says Elon booted Loke's ass.
Why would he do that? Like, I mean, Elon, I'm sure, like,
he didn't. Elon needed a loan from me, so I had to hook him up with some money right now.
Yeah, that nigga is going broke soon anyway. Oh, Elon.
Yeah. Anyways, about Black Flag, I'm with whoever said it's a 360 game, so no.
What?
I'm with that person.
I agree. It is a 360 game, and you're gonna get Assassin's Creed 2 level of gameplay. Taye, what happened to Taye now? I think did we lose Taye when you joined?
No, you did.
Did we?
Oh, he's still here.
Okay. He's giving you the silent treatment, Oshis.
All right, cool. No, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy with everyone's take on the subject because, again, I'm not married to Ubisoft or Assassin's Creed, but I do feel that Ubisoft is getting a raw deal here, and the Korean developer, what is it? Fuck, I forgot what their name is. They're getting a free pass when it comes to this. Meanwhile, I think their game does deserve the 78 that it got. I don't think that's an 8 out of 10 game, in my opinion. And again, I've not played it, so maybe that will change my mind when I do play it. So I doubt. All right, gentlemen. So, look, I was actually Ty before I sorry Ty. So I actually, while you were talking, I actually was on the phone with Loke, just trying to help him out there. So I asked Ty Loke to sort of like break down his impressions of Asha Sharma and what she's done so far within the industry since she became head of Xbox. And I've not heard your take. I don't think we've heard your take. I don't think you've been on since she took over and started making all these decisions. So yeah, take it away. Do you think that... Actually, let me ask specific questions. Do you think... Because I said this to Ty, I said, like, be careful. As an Xbox fan, I've been here before. Don Matrick exits, and then they say, you know what, we're going to give this all to Phil Spencer. First 6 months, a year, 3 years, dude knocks it out the park. Comes out first, I think 3 months, 6 months, says, you know what, we're going to do, since you guys love 360 so much, we're bringing backwards compatibility back. And everybody loses their freaking minds. And he says, you know what, we know you guys think that the Xbox One is a weak console. Actually, no, I'm actually fast forwarding. First thing that Phil Spencer did, he's like, you know what? We know you hate Connect on the fact that you have to pay $5 while everybody else pays $4.99 for PlayStation. So we're going to remove Connect and we're going to charge you the same price as a PS4, which is $4.99. After that, he then says, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring backwards compatibility back. And if you think that's impressive, I'm going to release a new SKU of the Xbox One S, the base model, and it's actually going to support more. It was more movie-related features than the PlayStation 4. So you're going to get HDR and all that on a base console. And it says, you think the show is done? Here's the Xbox One X. I'm just getting started, motherfuckers. And then the next thing is like, shit, like, and he's giving us, like, dude, the first year, 2 years, it was like, God, dude, Phil, jeez. And then he says, hold up. So this is my roadmap. I've just acquired some of the most acclaimed studios in the world. I'm bringing in Ninja Theory. We're working on Halo Infinite, the last Halo game you'll ever have to play. I'm like, jeez, this man is cooking. Like, jeez, fuck. Do they need to let this man cook anymore? Like, I'm not even done yet. We've got something that we've been cooking up. It's a subscription service. Now, don't worry, it's only got about 10 games at the moment. But for a stupid price, I think it was like $1.99 at the time.
It didn't start with 10 games. It started with like 30. I remember it was more than 10.
But it's like, for an almost ridiculous subscription fee, you can get to play these games without buying. And we're all like, Jesus, this guy.
And everything that comes out after, don't forget the big promise was everything that comes after is coming day one to Game Pass as well.
Yeah, but that was a while later. That I think that was around after he hired Sarah Bond when they announced the day and date. This is now when the titles have grown to over 200. Yeah. So remember, it started off small, and then it's only when they got the library to grow over 200 games, then they came out with the. Oh, by the way, whenever we release brand new games, they come out day one on Game Pass. And we're saying, I don't know, this man is a legend. He's a legend, bruv. This guy, Phil Spencer, he's a legend. This is my guy, Phil Spencer.
Yeah,
not like all the
like we're gonna make a statue for this guy.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up, Luke, and because we've talked about this with Ty already, is his first 3 to, let me say, 6 years were amazing in terms of morale for the Xbox platform.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm not as enthused by whatever Asha Sharma's doing. It's because we've been here before. I just feel like, oh, this is deja vu. We don't even talk about the fact this guy, like when Phil bought Bethesda, dude, like it was like, dude, like that was you know this mic drop moments in the console war thing.
When he bought crazy.
We were like, I mean, this man here, you know what, Phil, retire, bro. Like they should just give you a golden. At this point in time, give this man a golden handshake. Do what he says and let him go on vacation.
Yeah.
Like Bethesda, like we were like, we won. Like I was convinced, and I'm not the only one. I'm talking as an expert at the time. I was convinced that we had won the console. I was like, it's done. They cooked. This man.
What about when they got Activision, bro? If you thought they won with Bethesda,
wait with the Activision. Activision is like now Phil Spencer now earning his, like, as you sports fans will say, his 5th golden ring or whatever, like in terms of like impressing the community.
I know I was shocked. I was like, yeah, it's done. It's over. They got Activision, it's over.
Exactly. And so my thing is that no one, in my opinion, will ever be able to do or meet the sort of landmarks when it comes to the whole saving Xbox narrative as Phil. The shit that Phil did was the most pimp shit I'd ever seen in gaming. Nobody has ever dropped the pimp hat as much as Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer, I don't care who your favorite CEO is in gaming, but none of them have the same accomplishments as Phil Spencer. At the same time, he still managed to fucking sink the brand.
Okay, so that was a lot. That was a lot that you had to say there.
And I'm done. So I'm going to leave it to you guys, and I want you guys to then...
Jesus Christ. Hello? Hello? Oshus?
Yeah, we're still here.
Can you guys... Jesus. I'm getting phone calls all of a sudden. Why was I muted? Okay, I got unmuted. All right. Anyways, so I was saying that that's a lot that you had to say there, but in a way, you have also answered your own question by bringing up Phil Spencer's history with all of this. The fact remains that this happens in every corporation. Every new boss, in fact, in every organization, not even corporation, in every organization. So even if we're talking about football, even if we're talking about like movies, whatever, any group where you decide to take out the leadership and then you bring in new leadership, they get a very long leash to hang themselves on. Phil Spencer's first 3 years or first 5-6 years, he was given the chance. They were like, dude, do whatever you need to do. Do whatever you need to do because the ship is falling. Whatever it is that you think is the best thing to do that, and we'll give you all the money and resources to do it. And Phil got to do that. Same thing is happening with Asha Sharma. But I promise you, by 2030, if this ship is not turned, she out the door, and the next person gets to do it all over again. So I'm also skeptical, like you, Oshus. I understand that she's been given full powers and all this other stuff, but I want to see the results, because someone being given full powers does not guarantee victory. That's my take. I want to see before they lowered prices, for Game Pass, Asha Sharma for me was all talk. Now there's a bit of walk. There's a bit of wiggle to her spiegel. but I need to see more.
Ty, before you step off, do you want to say something? Oh, Ty bounced over. I think he's bounced over.
Did he?
Yeah, so he just bounced off for a minute. Okay, cool. I hear you, and I agree with you. I mean, if you worked in corporate enough, you know that this is just in cycles. It comes and goes. You know, leadership is always rotating, and then somebody always comes in with a vision. But I've always found, Luke, is that the leaders who have the vision, like they are lead, and I think Phil was one of those guys. And I just think that, and I would love to know, because this is the one thing that always throws me off, is I don't know what Phil was intending to, like, what was Phil's end game plan?
Phil's end game plan.
Do you think you know?
I think Game Pass was the game plan.
Exactly, and that's exactly my point.
I think,
and you know what was for me the mission statement that I think Phil should have doubled down on, and in every meeting said, well, this is our goal. If you don't like our goal, then it's fine. You can fire me. And it's the message that, like, and I remember RIP, the greatest Xbox podcast of all time, independent podcast of all time, RDX, Dealer, legend, all time. I don't know where Dealer is, but his presence is missed in the Xbox community. I think actually that community fell apart when he left. He used to always play this at the beginning of every single. Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, there's no fucking like. I mean, the guy that's the biggest Xbox community guy right now is he's literal. This is the guy that he mentored to get to that level, which is called Eastwood. Dealer, in my opinion, like the only reason I actually cared about all of the Xbox stuff is thanks to Dealer and like how those guys were so dedicated to the Xbox community. When I was like considering like just moving to PlayStation, I said, fuck Xbox, like this shit is dead. So, and then the one thing that he used to always do, Loki, is that every beginning of every episode, he would play that speech that Phil gave. I don't know if it was with IGN, where he said, when they asked him about Bethesda and the fact whether or not Bethesda games were going to come to other platforms. And then he made that statement to say that those games will be available on any platform where Game Pass exists. To me, that was a mic drop. He was like, because they were asking, are they going to be exclusives? Like, well, if Sony allows us to put Game Pass on PlayStation, yeah, you can play Starfield, you can play, Fallout, the next Fallout. And to me, that was his strategy. I really bought into that. I really thought
that was the whole thing, bro.
Yeah, like for me, I was behind that. I was like, yeah, this man is cooking. Let him cook. Because I knew that Sony would never allow Game Pass on PlayStation. Which would mean that if Sony players wanted to play, and to me, that is Xbox's biggest crime, is not forcing PlayStation players to make a choice. Say, fuck you. You want to play our games, you come to a fucking platform. This is what you do to us every time.
So now we find out exactly why you're so salty about
because Sony's unrelenting.
Xbox.
No, but Sony is unrelenting in terms of competitiveness, Alok. You can't be going there trying to kumbaya with somebody that's got a shank ready to to take you down and stab you in the throat. Like, and to me, that was so silly of it. Like, he should have put Sony in that position, because I'll tell you this, and the things that have recently happened, you guys know what I'm talking about. DRMs suddenly appearing after this is how you share PlayStation games in 2015. Now you've got DRMs on PlayStation. Guess why? Because PlayStation doesn't have competition. And I've been saying this, look, for the longest time. The moment you take away competition from Sony, Sony is the biggest asshole company in the world when it comes to games. They don't give a shit.
I would say Nintendo is the biggest. Asshole.
The thing is with Nintendo is that they've indoctrinated their fans since they were 5. So they still know that you're going to buy their overpriced pieces of plastic anyway. You're still going to buy that Switch, even though what it is, actually, it's a 3050 graphics card from like 20 freaking 15. But you're still going to buy and you're still going to pay almost a PlayStation 5 price for it. because that's how
it's red.
Yeah, and then like it's the same reason I grew up as a Nintendo fan, but it's just unsustainable to be buying Nintendo games at like $70 for small little freaking memory card SD cards of what for like mobile games. Come on, Nintendo needs to get the freaking out of here with that. I agree with you completely. No one is scalping their fan base more than Nintendo. Close second is
Okay, I'm back.
Hey.
All right.
I was popping, man. So just to disagree a little bit there, Phil's endgame was not. No, his endgame was not Game Pass per se. I think he was kind of stated at some point.
Wait. I just want to get to the chat quickly. So sure. Vincent says, fun fact is how you share games on PlayStation 4 is 13 years. It is 13 years old. And you know what the ironic thing is, Vincent Vega? And like, this is why I detest this argument when people say, plastic wars, console wars. There is no one that is a bigger console warer in this industry than Sony. Sony's always on the console wars, which is why they always win, because they're the only ones that know that they're fighting a war. Unlike freaking Phil Spencer, freaking daisies and trying to make friends. Sony's always got the dagger in the hand, bro. And that's why they win. That's why they win every console war, is because they're going in for war. They're not trying to make friends with you. They don't care. Sorry, Ty, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I disagree with the whole Phil Spencer talk Game Pass was, going to be that big. In 2022, in October, he said Game Pass makes up to 10 to 15% of Xbox content and service revenue. So just 10 to 15%. And he said that I don't think it gets any bigger than that. Game Pass as a product grows in revenue, but that's because the whole of Xbox is growing. And he says, I don't see a future where I think 50 to 7% of our revenue comes from subscription services. So even he's already saying right that they're like, no, Game Pass is going to be like 15 to 20%. So it wasn't his future play.
No, I'm happy with that, and I won't disagree with that. But I think it was his best play. What I mean by best play, let me explain. So basically, this is not your main thing. You still have to produce AAA games that are going to compete with Sony's output. You still have to make sure that your release slate is on time. You still have to make sure that you have the best hardware that can compete with whatever Sony's doing. But one of your aces in the sleeve that is going to help angle things to your advantage is Game Pass. And it's the one thing that Sony cannot replicate. It's the only secret weapon that you have that is like a one-up on Sony. Because you can't replicate their AAA games yet. You can't replicate their reputation yet in terms of like how fans feel about the PlayStation brand. So it was their one-up thing. They are one unique thing that made it. Well, aside from the fact that they now had one of the biggest RPG studios in history. So it had its place, but it was not the be end all. So I agree with you to a large extent. I think we've lost locally. But yeah, so that's all. That's the only point I wanted to make. I didn't want to I just feel that that's where we are. So, anyways, what is your conclusion? Because you did give your response before we move on. In terms of Asha Sharma, what's your summary? What's your cliff notes in terms of like what you think?
Well, it depends. Are we going to go into her Game Pass pricing
give me your cliff notes, because I think a lot of that stuff is as interesting as it is.
It's not.
It's kind of very superficial and point. So give me your summary. Take your time.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So the Game Pass Ultimate going down from $30 to $22 or $23 shows a sign that Microsoft is looking to grow Game Pass further out, as opposed to just using it as a revenue play. And you could also argue that it shows that they're willing to course correct them whenever they made mistakes. Call of Duty doesn't make sense for Game Pass given it's the model that Call of Duty has. So taking it out makes sense for everybody. I believe Call of Duty players are probably going to lose out overall because they could have subscribed and then got the game for free. But overall, Game Pass players will be happy with this change. Xbox players will be happy with this change, and everybody will be happy with this change overall because it is a cheaper deal. It doesn't matter if you're getting, your money's worth of Game Pass. $30 is just something that doesn't feel right. So she's done really well there so far. I think when it comes to the exclusive questions, she's hinted that like, hey, listen, we're still reevaluating. I believe if I wasn't sure of what it was in the past, I'm more sure of it now that there will be some type of exclusivity. Whether that's 3 months, 4 months, 7 months, I don't know. What I will say is that if you're gonna do something like 3 months, 4 months, 7 months, or whatever, I don't think that's going to I don't think that's good. I think you either go in or you go out. I think you need to, because if it's 3 months, I'm waiting. If it's 7 months, I'm waiting. If it's 1 year, I'm probably waiting as well, unless it's a very, very specific that I want to play. So I would just say you need to go in or go all out. But overall, I think Asha Sharma has done a fantastic job in getting the mood right for the people within the ecosystem, and people who have left the ecosystem. They're watching. They're not jumping back in because obviously some of them have left for different reasons, and those reasons haven't been addressed. But they're watching anyway. And the dumpster fire that what Xbox was before in terms of the vibes has completely changed. Now, can this be improved? 100%. Right now we're in April, right?
Okay.
And May is around the corner. Maybe they'll announce some interesting things for May. Like we already seem to keep announcing things here and there. The Xbox Fan Fest is coming up as well, and June will be the showcase. I think the June showcase will be the most important Xbox showcase in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I think we will see some reviews here. We'll get to see some games, and yeah. Oh, sorry. Before the showcase, Forza Horizon 6 comes out, and if that does like the Metacritic we think it's gonna do and the numbers it's gonna do, I think that'll go under her umbrella as a success as well. So yeah, I think she's on the up. Sorry, Xbox is on the up, and I think fans have a good bit to be excited for sure.
Okay, no, I agree with you. Xbox is on the up. I just like, for me, I just don't see, like, again, like, I don't think. Okay, let me ask you this question, sort of infringing with my opinion. Do you think she will reach the same highs that Phil Spencer reached with the Xbox in terms of success, accomplishments, in terms of acquisition, all that? Just, do you think she'll come close? Because like Phil Spencer's accomplishments are industry defining.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that it's not Xbox, it's not things that defined Xbox, it's things that had never been seen before in the entire industry. Even though they didn't benefit us as Xbox fans at the end of the day, do you think that she will reach those type of like groundbreaking milestones?
That's an interesting one. So here's one thing I'll say. There's a few things that are in the works that's going to probably be fine-tuned under her. So number one, there is a chance from what we heard that the backwards compatibility program is going to be linked towards the PC. So if you have a backwards compatibility game that you've purchased in the past, on the 360, Microsoft might allow you to play that game via PC. That would be something new. That'll be something unprecedented before. So I think that's going to go under her as a win. Number two, I think even let's say she doesn't do as well as what Phil does, just the fact that she's kind of turned the ship around somewhat is going to already be go down as okay, this is the person who kind of resuscitated Xbox to some extent, right? So you got the backwards compatibility PC thing. I think cloud gaming has always been in Xbox's core, and sometimes they haven't really gone right in terms of cloud just not really being as strong as GeForce now. The Helix chip, I don't know exactly how many is going to be put into the PC, but because it's more powerful, etc., I think the next gen Xbox Cloud is going to be a real competitor, or at least a real competitor to GeForce now, or maybe even Stadia level. I mean, that'll go under her bracket, especially if cloud starts taking up. Next thing is the Windows storefront, Xbox PC Windows storefront. Listen, by default, that's already going to be good because they're already working on it, because obviously the Helix is going to be that device, right? But again, I think what's going to happen here is that this will go under her name. This is the person who unified the ecosystem and the person who turned the Xbox PC storefront from what it was, trash, to what it is now, amazing. So I think you're going to see that as well. When it comes to Game Pass, she didn't create it, she didn't start it, but if it starts to grow from here on in due to the Game Pass starter pack, where that's going to be attached to Discord, the Netflix deal that's coming along, maybe reducing the price is going to increase subscription services. Again, that will go down under her. And like I said, the Helix, the first hybrid console device, will go under her again. So there's a lot here that she's going to take. I think that'll probably be enough to cement her name if she does all these things correct and right. Oh, also one more thing. If Xbox does release a handheld, and if she's still in charge when that happens, I think that'll be a big plus under her name as well, because that'll be a new frontier that they've never tried before or competed in.
Well, I mean, it has to work first before it becomes because if it launches and Sony's got their handheld out and it bombs, then I don't think that will do them any favors.
I don't think Xbox making a handheld is difficult. They can make a handheld. They just do we have resources? Do we want to do it?
I agree with you. They made the Series X one of the best designed consoles ever. They made the Xbox One X. That doesn't mean anything. Can that console compete with the Nintendo DS? Sorry, the Nintendo Switch? Can it compete with whatever PlayStation is releasing? Making the hardware is not the victory. The Series X and S were exceptionally good compared to the PS5 in terms of offering. PS5 wiped the floor with both of those consoles with ease, without effort. I would go as far as saying this was probably the most effortless console victory that Sony has ever won. So, and then this is going to lead to my next question to you. So, who does her W's benefit?
So, everyone within the ecosystem is the main priority, right? I always said this when she first started. I think I'm after this to you. I said this to many different people, but do not talk to Ushers right now. Do not talk to anyone. Talk to me. Talk to the people who have said, okay, there's no exclusives, but I still want to buy games on my Xbox. I still want to use Game Pass. I still like back compat. In fact, this Helix thing you're talking about, this hybrid PC, I'm on board, because these consumers are your anchor, right? They're the ones who are the most important. You keep them happy because they're loyal, and that's good. And then from there, you start to build up, because everything that you've done, you didn't have to do these things to keep to make me stay. I was already staying, but you doing all these things shows me a sign of, let's say you could say respect, right? You've got rid of Microsoft Gaming, and now it's just Xbox now. Okay, that makes me happy, because it feels like I am within a family. I'm within an ecosystem. You reduce Game Pass, which was the biggest selling points your console had, that the other platforms don't have. Okay, now I feel a little bit more special. Thank you for that. And Play Anywhere, you keep pushing that mantra. And hey, listen, I'm looking at Rebel Wolves' new game, Blood of the Dawnwalker, Play Anywhere. I'm looking at The Expanse, Play Anywhere as well, also on Game Pass. So you're doing things to keep the people within the ecosystem happy. Keep doing that. Now, once you've got those vibes back, and once you have people who are happy with the ecosystem as your core foundation, then you can start to expand outwards, because now you can start to, I hate to say it, but the evangelizing can start. The people who can start to defend you, because like you say, you want to talk about console wars, as ridiculous as it is, you need your warriors to have ammunition.
But let me stop you there. It's not ridiculous. It's a business strategy that has worked successfully for the entirety of the console business. And so it's the same thing I was saying to Loke before he dropped off, is that this whole thing, I think the most nonsensical mentality to have is to ridicule the competitiveness of the console market. Because if it was ridiculous, the market leader would not be using the sort of tactics that they're doing. which is regardless whether you're putting games on their platform, they're still doing every single thing that they can do to make sure that nothing gives your brand exposure as far as they're concerned. So this is not an arbitrary war. I always say to people, stop this whole mentality of like it's a pretend war. It doesn't. No, it exists because Sony is the guys that are the number one. They make sure that you know that it exists.
No, okay, no, I agree. I was trying to really do anything with that statement. But when you have your core foundation who's happy, then you can build from that. And the next thing you can do here is honestly market your unique selling points. So you might be able to bring some of them back because maybe the PC hybrid is a interesting concept, but you need to show that off really well. Maybe to bring some of them back because maybe Game Pass is not cheaper enough for them, and now you're throwing in all these great games into the Game Pass ecosystem, and they're happy enough with that. So you might be able to bring some of them back because you're now giving them certain benefits that they didn't really have with other platforms, and because they're they have that affinity with Xbox from the past, they're willing to give it a shot. But a vast majority of them, and even consumers who are not interested in Xbox, the way to bring them back is exclusives, something that is stronger to pull them in. And now whether she can do that or not, we don't know, but at least you need a core foundation, and I think she has that core foundation right.
Agreed. So Ty, like, and again, I agree with everything that you said, and again, I think, and I just think the problem is that people don't understand what that approach is. Microsoft's approach does need to be different from Sony and Nintendo. But they just, my thing with them, like that I'm holding them to account for, is like they're no longer playing for me. To your point, you're absolutely right. They're not playing. The fandom that is into what I'm into has probably moved on to something like Steam, or if you were a console gamer, you probably moved on to Sony anyway. Which is why you have so many rabid Sony fans, because a lot of them are Xbox guys that are just angry at the fact that Xbox didn't do what they wanted Xbox to do. I think most Sony fans are just a bunch of casuals that don't really engage. And how I judge that is very simple. And we've had this conversation as well, Ty, is that if you look at the content creators for Xbox, some of the most exceptional content that you ever find in the gaming atmosphere, go find me an awesome, Ty, list your top 3 awesome podcasts for PlayStation.
No, there's none that I watch or listen to.
Yeah, just list all the ones that are just focused on PlayStation. I just know Mooch, who's just, and Mooch, the problem with Mooch is that Mooch talks about Xbox 99.9% of the time that he's on that podcast. But anyways, he's a PlayStation. I'm talking about influence like that. There's a guy that I trust, the guy that I trust the most when it comes to PlayStation, and it's because he's not a fanatic, he's not a fanboy. He's I would call him a PlayStation enthusiast. Is Mystic. I think it's Mystic. That guy is the best content. If you're into PlayStation stuff and you want sober-minded stuff, there's nothing to do with console wars, go watch Mystic. He's the best content creator for PlayStation. Sober-minded, really down-to-earth, best coverage if you're a PlayStation guy. It's not like Mooch and them who only just talk about Xbox. That guy almost never talks about Xbox unless it involves PlayStation. Unlike the rest of the guys that do podcasts and they claim to be PlayStation channels, and 99.9% of their content is them just hating on Xbox, which is the weirdest thing. Sorry, Ty, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was just saying that, like, she's done a fantastic job with what she can do. No rakes, no stepping. And in terms of listen, this is what we got with Phil before in the past. I think the difference here is, and I think skepticism is makes sense, is that I just didn't feel that maybe Phil was a great executioner in some aspects, and I think maybe there were certain things that held him back from really turning Xbox into the force that it could have been or it should have been. Whereas I think she understands that. Now, we don't know too much about the games, because I always say this: the games is the problem. you need to have games that are going to sell consoles and bring people into your ecosystem. I believe she knows this because she seems like somebody who understands how these things work. Um, and I would love it if there were the systems in place to kind of make sure that, like, these studios that you have are making games that people want to play, not just games that maybe they want to make, right? I think that first and foremost. Unfortunately, the video game industry is quite it's quite expansive in the sense that some of these games will take 4 to 5 years, 7 years, 8 years to make. So, can we really see her games? Like all these games, even though they don't release under her, they are to all extent Phil Spencer Mabuti games. That's it. The only thing she can do is maybe delay something, push something out a little bit, or get people to maybe test certain things and add some systems in place. So the reason she can't really be judged. Like I don't give her credit for Forza. I don't really give her credit for any of these titles. But when they release under you, it adds to the vibe. So you get credit because they released under you still. Well, we know you didn't actually have an impact in those games. But overall, listen, just like the last year, the year before that, Xbox Showcase is the one people are looking forward to. It's the one people want to hear the most about. It's the one that's going to have the better reviews and changes, etc., etc. And they're the company that you don't really know what to expect because the ceiling is extremely high for them, but the floor is also extremely low, right? Whereas with Sony, I think we understand. Like till this day, I'm more excited for a PlayStation game from Cory Barlog or a PlayStation game from Neil Druckmann than anything else that Xbox has announced. That's just because I know what to expect from Sony. From a game perspective, I feel like I won't be disappointed. But with Xbox, I don't really know, but the ceiling can be really high.
I think that's a very fair answer. And to a large extent, I do agree with your take when it comes to that specific answer. And Xbox. I think we are in not uncharted territory, but I think it's one of those wait and see situations. I just think that, like, to your point, like, people like me are gone. Like, I think their hope for the future is to get people that are interested in Xbox as an alternative gaming brand. But core gamers, I don't see them getting them back unless they do that through some backdoor through PC. And again, like they have to fuck up Steam, which is worse. Like Steam, in my opinion, is much more optimized than even PlayStation in terms of like their business model and how they run their gaming business. They don't need exclusives. They don't need any of these arbitrary console war things to run a very successful business. So I'm interested in how Microsoft thinks they can actually take them out. And I just saw the message that you sent me about the K2 that is trying to optimize Xbox's software and hardware to be competitive or more competitive with Steam, which I think is the move that the direction that they need to more angle on. But again, I would say that they need to do it in your approach, which is the whole walk and chew thing. Don't abandon console gaming and all that shit. Like all the things that they did. Like I don't know, dude. Like I just feel that like the amount of things that they've done to hurt the business for Xbox supersedes the amount of things they can do to save it. Because if they were in the same position they were in, let's say in 2022, 2023, where they still all had all the exclusives and whatever, they could still do things like, well, we want to endeavor into Steam. They could still do that and compete against Steam successfully and still have that that library to leverage. But the moment you go third party, dude, like third party is like one of those things that you can't go back from. Like because you've dispersed your fan, like you're at a stadium full of fans and you've dispersed that stadium full of fans. To get those guys back in is such a monumental task because so many people are so into so many different things. Where are you gonna round them up from? From the Steam storefront, from the PlayStation storefront? Like where do you get those guys back from? And how do you get them back with those other people still offering them services that they're happier with than what you gave them?
I think I think the third party question is hard. Like you're right, it is a lot harder to to pull them and pull people away. So Phil, credit to Phil, he's right about that point. However, I like in the past, I think it was definitely easier. I think it was easier for Nintendo to claim back fans from Sega and vice versa, based on.
Okay, that's a good point. Wait, do you think like Nintendo claimed back fans, or they either got the fans to say, okay, cool, we like this new thing that we're on, but we still have fond memories of Nintendo. So Nintendo's doing cool stuff now. I'll get this cool stuff for my kid. That's not the same thing as, well, you've got me back. It's the same thing of like, oh, you know what? So that's what I'm saying to you about Microsoft and having to build an alternative business, because they can't rely.
Well, there's two things there, really. I think one of the things that they were able to do, Nintendo, and I think it's a good point. They did two things, right? I think they reclaimed back fans, but they didn't just do it with games. They did it with, by tackling a different area. So, for example, the people out there who clearly bought the N64, and after the N64, they were like, "Yeah, I'm gone. I'm going to PlayStation, right?" Because the GameCube didn't sell, which was didn't sell as well. But there's a lot of people out there who didn't have a GameCube, who were Nintendo fans from the past, but bought a Wii. Right, so they were back with Nintendo games. It wasn't just because of the games; it was because of the form factor of the Wii. And a lot of those fans as well also left with the Wii U because they're like, "Yeah, the Wii U just really isn't for me." Some of them stayed for sure, but then the Switch. Like, if I also ask some of the Nintendo fans right now from the past who played the NES or even had the N64, they'll tell you straight up that they bought the Switch. They skipped the GameCube, they skipped the N64. Some of them, they skipped the Wii U, but they're backing because of the Switch. So I think you do need to bring in some unique selling points apart from just from just games to bring back these fans. Now, what could the unique selling points be? Well, I think what Xbox here can do is pretty much just say, like I always give this as an example. But if in some way you can say every single game that you purchase will have a cloud license. So now you're bringing in new people with the cloud stuff, and everyone might be okay. Maybe buying this game on Xbox is better than buying it, on a different storefront because I have an additional license. It's not like a huge selling factor, but it's something that when all things are equal, you look for these little advantages. So obviously the foundation will be make sure your PC storefront is amazing. I think this is where they might see where the future is going. That we're not thinking of, like 10 years ago, no one was thinking about maybe PC or Android or like whatever, like the like Roblox dominator, that kind of stuff. Where do we think the future player is going to be? Well, we think that these Roblox players who are playing on their mobile phone, and we think at some point games are going to start being happy enough to play on cloud. Like, we do think cloud is going to take off at some point. And when that happens, we're going to be there to take advantage. And if we're going to be there to take advantage, that means we need a unified storefront. We need to make sure all our segments, aka PC and console, exact like for like is replicated on cloud. So basically, it's the console UI, it's everything about Xbox that is replicated on cloud and on PC. I think that would be their unique kind of selling point. So if you're like, listen, people might not like it, but your mobile phone is an Xbox, your PC is an Xbox, everything becomes an Xbox. You just don't say it, and you make sure everything feels and acts like an Xbox before you even start uttering that word.
Okay, no.
So when Asha buys his Xbox and his Xbox is all powerful and all great, and then he wants to go out, he can whip up his ROG Ally, and it feels like an Xbox in the same way how maybe the SteamDeck feels like like you're on Steam, and then he can then say, "Oh, my phone is my handheld is dying, or the battery sucks." Okay, well then he streams, and when he puts on his mobile phone and he attaches the controller, it feels like an Xbox as well, like for like. And then when he gets to his friend's house that he's crashing over it is, and he tells his homie, "Yo, can I go on your PC?" The guy says yes, and he puts it on, and when he turns it on, he signs in as Asha's, it feels like an Xbox, and he's playing his own game. I think that's their play. I think that'll be the unique selling point that they're hoping the industry is going to go towards. And they can look at, people who are playing PlayStation and say, is this really the future? Being locked behind this like one box? I think that's where their unique selling point is going to be.
Okay, that's an interesting take. So Rachie says, where do you think I play NTE? PlayStation, because it's the game. Sorry, because the game isn't available on Xbox. Xbox is suffering a lot every time a huge game skips the platform or is money hatted. And that's the thing, Richie. Sony will never stop money hatting because Sony is competing. Like this is, and again, like from a business perspective, like you bet on the person that is aggressive enough, that is going after the market. And like I think in terms of console gaming, you could just don't. I think going forward in the conversation, Xbox isn't even really part of that conversation because they've sort of made it clear that they're not interested in competing in that market. And in terms of practically, I don't see anything that they can claw back from that market from Sony. Once you've bent the knee to a company like Sony, and Sony has been teabagging you for the last 5 years, with and after they teabag you and you still you know what, you teabagged me, now I want some more. now do something else. That's like the moment you've given your whole library to a company that is mercilessly and even now, like a good example of this where I say that, like, people, if you're not paying attention, then that's the problem. And I think a lot of journalists pay attention passively, because the fact that, like, Sony's got a showcase coming up. I bet you, I will bet you my lung, I'll bet you my heart, you can do open surgery on my heart and take it out and give it to a trans person, whoever needs a transplant. Because of I bet you Sony will never display a Xbox logo at their, what are they called? Those little showcases of theirs that are like so small. What are they called? I forgot what they called. They will never show a single Xbox logo on any of those, let alone a Steam logo or anyone's logo, because they're still in competition. That stuff matters to them. So whenever people rubbish the whole thing of like, well, like, I'm like, Xbox is the only thing doing the thing that you're championing, right? They're the only ones that are taking this approach. The guys that you probably buy the most software from in terms of console gaming are the most egregious when it comes to this shit. They're not about what's for gamers. They're about making sure that if they can put their head on your their heel on your head, they will do it. And then that leads us to our next two stories, which I wanted to talk about, which is this DRM coming from Sony, as well as Tai. I want you to tell us a little bit more about this K2 project for Windows, because I think, like, if you ask me honestly, the only field to compete for Xbox right now is to try and make inways into the Steam, the Steam front, and that is even more hectic because Steam is ready for war. But like, what do you think about this K2 project?
So the K2 project is basically plans to improve Windows 11 gaming performance, and this comes from Windows Central. This is something that I think has been brewing for some time now, and I've always kind of said that when you spend 70 billion on an acquisition, and you spend billions on Bethesda, the question people are going to ask is, why are we putting our titles on other platforms? And we got to take this seriously now. And why are gamers so against us on PC? Like, we are Microsoft, like we should be the default users here, right? And when you start asking that question, or you like data, you like reports, so you're going to ask the people, why is it that, like, you guys are not using our PC storefront? And the answer is simple: the data will come back and say, because no one gives a shit about your storefront because it's just not good, right? So the question is, okay, who is the benchmark? Who is the leader? And what can we do to kind of capitalize? Here's the interesting thing: there's certain things that might be outside your control, which is games, right? There's certain things you probably can't deal with, which is the Android store. However, what you do control is Windows. That is what it is. And the Windows guys might say, we don't care about gaming, we don't give a shit. But at this point, the fact that it is shown up on your balance sheet. You just spent 70 billion on it, means you have to care. You just have to. It is what it is at this point. When gaming doesn't do well, and you gotta tell investors in the quarterly meetings, yeah, the reason why we didn't reach our targets this year overall from a profitability point of view is because gaming underperformed. Like, you didn't have to say that before with Xbox, but now you have to, because ABK is a thing. And then, of course, you look at the attachment rates to things like Battle.net, and you say, well, why does Battle.net have so many people who are on board? And again, you look at Windows and say, we should be the ones, dominating here. And once you kind of come to that conclusion, you realize, like, okay, let's start amending this. Let's start actually going to the core Windows and make sure Windows is gamer friendly. We've been seeing all these reports that Linux, is upticking slowly, and Proton is being used, and this is happening, and that is happening. And if you're Microsoft, rather than being reactive, how about you just become proactive? How about you create a situation where people don't have to go look for alternatives? Because remember, one of the points that they said is that, like, Xbox is their only loved brand. Every other brand, people use it because they have to tolerate it, because there's nothing else really out there, or people are just creatures of habit. But when you have a brand that people love, that people want to succeed and use, when you have that, you need to, like, nourish it. You need to grow it. You need to lead into it. So basically, long story short, the K2 plan is to improve, Windows gaming, and they're using SteamOS as a benchmark. Is to kind of is to make sure the OS has minimum footprint, which should make gaming better, to reduce AI clutter, pre-install content, is to rebuild their start menu to make sure it's, again, faster, and basically, long story short, just make your gaming experience better on Windows, so you don't have to go looking for somewhere else at all. And I think this leans into the whole, unifying the ecosystem thing, because you can't unify an ecosystem. Then I'm using this unified ecosystem, but it's worse than my Xbox Series X, my Xbox One, my Xbox 360. At that point, you've migrated me to a worse product. And as we all know, if PC users are not happy, especially gaming ones, they will migrate to a different product, aka Steam. So this is, to me, is fantastic. They're trying to compete now with Steam, because people need to keep in mind, Epic came into the industry in 2018, 2019, and now they have the second largest market share. So the question Microsoft should ask themselves is, how does a company that had no real strong PC presence, that just made engines and games or whatever, how did they build something on Windows and it surpassed us? When the truth is, we have the actual data to Windows. We can change these amend things. Why are we not taking advantage of of this right here? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. When you want to play a game on your PC, it should work better on our platform, Windows, than a different company like a Steam or Epic, playing on there. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think that's the.
So in other words, what you're asking is, like, how is it that we, as the market leader in terms of the actual platform instead of the hardware and software, were not able to safeguard our, for the lack of a better word, ecosystem, when a competitor introduced itself and became successful?
Well, I think I think the answer is they just didn't care, and they had a lot of tech debt.
Exactly. And that's my point, is that, and it's the same thing I said to you last week, is that the only reason that Xbox lost the console was that they didn't give a fuck. And then we got into that whole argument whether were they competing or not competing. The bottom line is that you can compete, but if your competition is ass, if you are coming like with a second division team and you want to compete with like a PSL, like first class team, with all the resources, you're still gonna lose. And that's exactly what I'm saying, is that, to me, there's a lack of, in terms of like their business, there's a lack of killer instinct in terms of like what is competition. Which, again, Microsoft being the second or third, they are the second biggest company in the world. They understand what competition is. No one is competing with Microsoft when it comes to Excel, Word, or spreadsheets. That's not on Apple. because they killed that competition. So for me, my question is, where the fuck are they coming from in gaming with this kumbaya attitude of thinking that, well, we can coexist with Nintendo and PlayStation in this fairy world and whatever? No, your goal should be to destroy PlayStation and to destroy Nintendo. And if you cannot do that, you will never understand why Steam, they came into your neighborhood. They came into your hood, took over the whole territory. You didn't care. Now you care. If you don't understand how they did that, you're not going to be able to achieve the success that they've achieved. Because you're not hungry. You don't want it. You can't kumbaya yourself to number one. No one has ever done that. No one has ever done that. The only time you become number one is by being aggressive and being competitive, which is what Sony has always been from day one. There's no point in time where Sony took their leg of the what do you call it, the gas. It's just that somebody just outgassed them, but they've never taken their foot off the gas. Microsoft, just to me, I worry because of just how. That's a very clever poster. I worry just how laxy-daisy they are in terms of their approach to the stuff. And I hope they're a little bit more, not a little bit more aggressive. I demand that they be more aggressive in competing with their competitors. You cannot beat Sony while putting all your games on Sony. You cannot beat Steam if you allow Steam to use your storefront. That is economics. Like, well, how does that work?
Just quick ones. Reggie says, no, I'm just talking about the compatibility is close. There's an app, Reggie, I don't know if I told you about it, that lets you play Steam games or your PC games on your mobile phone, which is something I think Microsoft should have done as well. But so that's a separate thing. Reggie says he has over 650 free Epic games, yet Steam is still my main platform. I think where Epic kind of maybe messed up there is they had people getting their games, but they didn't have people actually playing the games at all. So collectors obviously wanted to collect. Maybe what they should have done is for every free game, Rachel says it's Game Hub. Yeah, Game Hub is really cool. Also, you should probably check it out, but you need a powerful phone to use it. I wonder if you could actually do something with Game Hub and Cloud, like merge it together. So like maybe Cloud deals with the looks, the aesthetics, while also like maybe deals with like the hard details in the game, and the mobile phone kind of does something else. But anyways, what I was saying was that what was I saying?
You were talking about
like Epic. Yeah, so I think the thing what Epic should have done is it should have been something like, hey, buy a game. Sorry, don't buy a game. Obviously get a free game. And once you've claimed this game, 70% discount on another game. Like there should have been some crazy high discount. And obviously these are like new games too. So somebody could say, okay, well, I've just gotten this new game for free. But wow, there's Hogwarts Legacy that's coming out here for 70% out. They might not use it, but put a timer in place that like, hey, you have 1 month to use this. Not 1 month, maybe make it like 3 days to use it. So I think they should have done more incentives like that. That should have helped people. Well, it could have been something as simple as like, hey, here's a free game, but guess what? Finish or play 10 hours of this game, and here's a 70% discount. Like they should have done incentives to make people want to actually buy within their ecosystem by, giving them great deals. So that's what they should have done. I don't think Xbox has this issue per se, because they managed to monetize the people that use their platform because of Game Pass. So there's still revenue coming in. They'll still need to learn how to transition those people into buying games on the PC storefront. So I would say they should implement something similar, which is apart from sales, but some kind of, buy 3 games and get a 4th one free. Finish this game and get 50% of your next game. They need to kind of have incentives for people to keep to buying products. I would say something for Game Pass, for Game Pass users out there, give them incentives to go buy games.
All right. Like I agree with you, but I just
Engage with the platform and receive benefits. Like, this is the key thing right there. And that's why I kind of said to you, Asha, about the whole like, yo, all these like points that I keep getting for signing into Game Pass and play an RPG game or turn on, finish one race. Like, if you advertise that and you amplify that to a large extent, and you're very generous at the start, and you're telling me that like, hey, turn on a racing game, hey, turn on Game Pass, hey, shoot 5 guys, and guess what? You get $30 today for that. Like, and then you're gonna give me $30 in my wallet, and obviously, don't give me real $30. Put it in my wallet. Well, now that's there. Well, I'm incentivized to buy something. Like, and I think that's where you should be. And I think when you do it like that, you're gonna have people actually spending more. Or sorry, maybe not even $30 to buy something, but like 70% off your next purchase. Something like that, and people will end up buying. And that sale would have never happened on your platform, but it would have happened on Valve, on Steam instead. So yeah, even though you're not getting this massive cut, what you're doing is you're getting some of the pie that you were never going to get. So that is a W in itself.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Look, in terms of a strategy, I agree. So I wanted to, in terms of a strategy where you are actually trying to gain market share, look, I agree. I just look. My thing is that like whenever Microsoft says they're competing, I wince a little bit. Like, oh, you competing in gaming? That's like I personally, if you ask me, their most the place where they fit the most right now would probably be publishing. That to me is their most, in terms of them being a super heavyweight in gaming. They are. If you asked me, okay, cool, what are you gonna do with Xbox? I would say do away with all this console shit. We don't even need the Xbox name. We just need to make sure that we rally behind the biggest name when it comes to the live experiences that are going to give us the player numbers that we need across all platforms. And to me, that is an undefeatable strategy. That strategy will actually yield them more and save them more money than anything trying to hold on to some vague memory of what Xbox used to be. Like, all that to me is just,
bro, you suck.
I think they're just wasting their time. If you ask my personal opinion as an Xbox fan, I think it's a waste of time because I'm not even sure who they're trying to court towards that. They're a publisher. Just focus on publishing, releasing the biggest games and getting the most audiences across all platform, PlayStation, PC, cloud, to play your games.
None of this is true.
Sorry?
No, this is true. This.
Well, that's your opinion, but I'm just telling you, like, what's happening is that, like, if you do that, at least then you like your messaging becomes simpler. Everybody understands what you're doing. It's the same thing
but why would you take an L though?
Wait, let me finish. It's the same thing that Sega did once they decided to to go third party. They did that, and their business has been better for it ever since. Go ahead with your L. What were you saying?
Yeah, but like everything you're saying for them to do is an L.
But the problem is you've already taken an L by not competing in the first place. You failed to compete against Steam. You failed to compete against Sony. Why are you now, what's the word? Why are you propagating or pretending that you can compete when at your best, when you were positioned to compete, you didn't even make an effort with all the resources that you had? You had, like, again, if we're talking about L's, Tai, you had Bethesda, you had Activision. You chose, nobody forced you. You chose not to compete. And then you told your fans you're not going to compete. You lost all your fans that were looking for you to compete. Once you've made those decisions, you've committed to this path, now you want to compete, and I need to believe you that you want to compete, and you might bring back the things that made you competitive before you had this huge advantage. That's just naive if you believe that.
Yeah, but you tell them to take an L.
Because they've been taking L's. For the last 5 years, they've been taking voluntary L's. Taye, at Sony's last conference, how many Xbox logos you saw when they were showing off their games?
None.
Xbox's last most recent case in point showcase. How many Xbox logos did you see? How many Steam logos? Did you see as many Steam and and PlayStation logos as you saw Xbox logos?
No, not at all.
Sorry?
No, I didn't see any other rivals logos.
At Xbox's showcase?
No, not Xbox's showcase. No, all the logos were there.
Okay, so explain to me competing then.
So competing here is going to be different. Competing here is actually just going to be competing with an ecosystem play, which is what Steam is doing. That is the actual competition right there. Can they beat Steam at that? That remains to be seen. But they're the best place to do it. I think Sony can also compete. And I think that's why Sony wants to compete. Sony probably just wants to solidify the console space a little bit more and then branch into the handheld space. And I wouldn't be surprised that at some point Sony starts to look into the PC space to try to do something there. They just don't know how they're going to do it. Do we build a launcher? Do we go back to Steam here and there? Do we, make a deal with Epic instead? I think Sony's they are contemplating these things themselves, to be honest. So I think the competition now is ecosystem. And if they were just to become a full third-party publisher, it just wouldn't make sense. I think they'll lose more money in the long term for sure. Like, for example, I think we've said it before, but most Call of Duty players on PC on Battle.net. Next up is the Xbox Store, which is the Xbox PC Store, which is via Game Pass. So the argument, most of the people on the PC playing on Call of Duty are on your own ecosystem, giving you the full 30% cuts, or at least the revenue. Why you would surrender that and then just give your rival Steam everything, I do not know. Why would you give up billions and billions in a console when no one is begging you to? I do not know.
Okay, wait, hold up. I just want to hold you to those last 2 points. Say those 2 things again. I just want to understand what you like.
Why would you give up the current user base that you have on PC to Steam?
Okay, current user base on PC, number one. Okay, what was the second one? Yeah.
Why would you give up the user base that's willing to stay on console? Why would you tell them to migrate towards PlayStation?
Okay, cool. I love that. So why did you give them up in the first? Why did you not try more to keep them on your ecosystem in the first place? That they are in threat of actually leaving you right now, which they've left you because of the decisions. You went third party, which you knew you would lose that audience in the first place. So you actually actively acted to lose that audience. You've already proactively done that. You didn't need to do that. You have the most money in the entire gaming business. This was all arbitrary Chinese, accounting on Microsoft's books in terms of are we willing? What are our margins? Accountability margins that you could do away with. You, as part of your business, have already done that.
Yeah, so the reason why this happened is obviously because they invested a lot of money.
Ty, that's an excuse. They've invested a lot of money in what? They didn't have to invest 80 billion in Activision Blizzard. They didn't have to invest 8 billion in if they didn't think the business could grow and maintain their console audience, that was not necessary. The only reason that you would have thought that they made those moves was to make sure that they have all the console audience on their platform, on their hardware, on their software. But the moment you have all these assets, you decide, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to support everyone. How is that going to grow your platform?
So the difference here is the people who are making the decisions on the very, very top are not really thinking this way. They want the platform to grow. And I think for them, they gave the money, they gave the right investments for the platform to go. Unfortunately, the platform didn't grow and they were just asking for the return now. This is, this just happens everywhere with every investment. They were asking for the return and the return wasn't there. So they said, make it happen.
But my question is,
you didn't disenfranchise within the console space.
This is like what you're saying to me is this is like going back to PlayStation. Sony now has the Final Fantasy license. They're the new guy in town. They've got the Final Fantasy license, and they say, you know what we want you to do, Square. You make this game for us, and then we port it to the N64. Like you are creating the situation.
Well, no, it's like, it's more like Square puts Final Fantasy on PlayStation. It costs 30 million to make or 40 million to make, and on PlayStation it flops. At that point, they're like, okay, well, Final Fantasy just flopped. Gran Turismo just flopped. All these games are flopping.
Okay, I love that. I love that
they're flopping, and you know what? The investors, Square is like saying like, well, we're a business. We need to make our money back, and it seems like this isn't going to work. So let's put on the N64 and all these other places to get the margins up.
I love that. So did the Forza 5 flop? Sorry, the Forza Horizon 5 flop?
No.
Why are you putting it on PlayStation?
Because my statement was more about their whole ecosystem.
Okay, let's go back to the ecosystem and when they started this thing.
No, I mean, like, when I say ecosystem, I mean like the whole console player. Like, because Starfield can be successful, but Starfield can't save the console.
And Starfield flopped on PlayStation, unfortunately for them. So I want to go back to when they started doing this, which was when Phil made the decision to put their games on PC, which is when they literally started to kill the sales on console. The moment they put their games on PC, a lot of people stopped buying Xboxes because they didn't need to. And the greatest case in point of that is Halo 5. Ironically, when they were doing this in that same era, the game that came out in about 2014, 2015, which was one of their biggest games, top 5, top 10 today, top 5 today, Halo 5, they never put on PC. And that game sold gangbusters on Xbox. Everything else that they put on PC didn't move the needle for them. So what was the point? When Halo 5...
I think right now, like, when it comes to PC, like, Microsoft is too intertwined with PC for us. I don't see a PC game. And listen, I think Asha might have a lot of power. But I'll probably say this. She might be able to make games go back exclusives. I doubt she'll be able to make Microsoft not make a PC version of a game. I think even Satya probably understands that, like, listen, I don't know gaming too much, but you don't want to put Xbox games on Windows? Nah, that's not happening. Like, I think that she gets overruled there.
So what I'll say is this. If you go back to Xbox One exclusives, Halo 5, which was never released on PC, is still one of their best-selling exclusives from that generation. Never released on PC. They release Gears, they release all their famous franchises on PC. And if you compare
when did Halo 5 launch? Which console?
2015, I think. 2014, 2015.
Which console?
Xbox One, exclusive.
Okay.
Never launched on any other console, even to today. Halo 5 is only available on Xbox. Still their best-selling game, or their top 5 best-selling game from that generation. Gears didn't even make the top 10, I think, if I remember correctly, in terms of the best-selling games from that generation. Like, how do you look at that and not see the fact that your franchises actually benefit you more when you sell them for your console versus putting them on PC? There is no Xbox exclusive that if you launched on Xbox would not do as good a business as it did on PC if you just exclusively launched on Xbox and didn't spread your sales. So you're not growing your market. All you're doing is just you're spreading your sales. You're saying the people that would have probably said, yeah, you know what, I have a PC. Should I get an Xbox? Should I get a PlayStation as a secondary console?
they all went and got PlayStations because now you didn't give them any reason to buy Xbox back then. And again, look at the games that were released. Look at how many of those games did as like back from the Xbox One did as well on PC as they did on Xbox. If you just released them on Xbox. So what I'm saying here is that to me, like Xbox is not like Xbox should stop pretending that they're interested in competing and just become a third-party publisher, because this is what they've always wanted to do from the get. Well, Phil anyway wanted to do that. This whole sort of like reinvigorating Xbox to me is very nebulous, because I'm not sure who they're trying to get to stay on Xbox that still cares about all that stuff anyway. That's my only.
You see,
like,
I think what you're saying leads to one. It leads to lack of control, and it leads to financial. Like I don't see from a revenue point of view why your way makes more sense.
Again, I'm not talking about revenue, because that's how we got here in this first. This is the same reason why Phil and Sarah out of a job, is because we're talking about revenue all the time. Well, the consoles are not selling enough revenue or moving enough margin, despite everything that they've done. So let's raise the price. All the decisions that Asha is reversing now were decisions made based on revenue. To the point that you said to me that, okay, cool, we're not focusing on revenue anymore. What are we focusing on? It's growth now. Growth margins. We don't care about revenue margins. The reason we're having this conversation right now about those two people who made all that revenue making those decisions were fired. So revenue is definitely not the key to Xbox's success.
So the revenue play is different, because, like I said, when you invest, and then you want something out of it, and when that doesn't come out of it, you ask for the revenue to come out in any way, shape, or form. I think the play now is that the people on the top have realized that the revenue play, which was supposed to be good for the short term, has had dire effects for the long term. And that's something that they're focusing on. That's number one. Number two, they've realized that the revenue play, which is not just happening at Xbox, was that the whole of Microsoft, has led to a downgrade of Windows. This is like, there's articles that's kind of come out about this, that this is not an Xbox play. Don't think you're special. This is a whole Microsoft play, where they're realizing, like, we've damaged our brand, we've damaged our name, and if we keep going like this, we are going to start bleeding users. And I think they've already started bleeding users as well. And then they saw that, like, you know what, we put games on PlayStation. Was it worth it? Doesn't really seem like it did anything fantastic. Obviously, Forza did well, so did Sea of Thieves. But the more we do this, does it actually hurt our ecosystem? And one of the things that Asha's kind of said is that, she wants to focus on daily active users. And she said that these were people, use within the ecosystem. So again, the reason why they're only doing this is because they recognize that this will lead to a higher revenue play. And when the systems does merge, aka cloud, PC, one whole unified platform, I think they realize that they're in a great position to take advantage of that, because they are Windows. And it would just be strange for you to surrender because you want short-term growth. Now, you might say, well, they already did that. Yeah, they did, but now they're saying,
they gave up, like,
but now they're saying, but now they're saying, oh, that was a mistake.
Dude, like, my man, like again, like, and I want to move on from this because I want to ask you a second question. Like, dude, like, if you like, there's no complex formula when it comes to winning the console war. I put it to you that after the 360, because again, the only difference between Microsoft's approach to the console war and Sony's approach to the console war when they were debutantes is that Sony entered the market when both Sega and the Nintendo were making grossly incompetent decisions. When Microsoft entered the console business, everyone was on their A game.
So I don't blame. I always say, you know what, the Xbox One, they did everything right. There's no ways they could have won that war simply because of the fact that the odds were always stacked against them. Sega was fighting for their life. Nintendo was trying to make a re-up with the GameCube. And on top of that, Sony was a god tier level competitor that again crushed. If you can combine all the sales from their competitors and they still won't even reach half of Sega. Sorry, let me say 2/3 of Sega sales. Sorry, of Sony's sales during that generation, combining everyone's sales. So, like, when they entered the market, things were brutal. Sony's reign was unchallenged. But when you come from the 360 and then you fucking fumble a layup like the Xbox One, and then go on to be handed the biggest bag in history of console gaming, and again you do nothing with it. You have all the resources, you have all the money, now you have all the experience as well, because you've actually had a successful console, and then you fuck that up within 2 generations. You go so far back to the point that you don't even have games that are exclusive to your hardware, the main thing that's there to sell your platform. And then I need to believe that you can get core gamers who are the ones that support this hardware and all this stuff primarily. No, like, you are grossly incompetent at being able to play the console game. I'm not even going to talk about the PC game, because the PC game, you were so far ahead. Valve was just making games on your platform when you were dominating. Now Valve is so far ahead that you need to copy them to be able to compete. Like, I don't think, like, look, to be honest with you, I don't think, in my opinion, regardless of who's in charge, I don't think Xbox is serious about being a platform holder when it comes to gaming. This is why I say best thing they can do is become a publisher. They can never compete against Steam. They've failed miserably to ever compete against Sony or Nintendo. All the facts are there. Like, to me, they're in no position to gain any traction. That's my opinion, as someone that supported them for 15 years. That, like, there's nothing Xbox can do at this point, because they've proven that money is not the option. They've proven that leadership is not the problem. They've proven that you can give them every single advantage that they have, they will still squander it because reasons.
No, they squander it because of leadership.
Whose leadership?
I mean, what do you mean?
Was it Don Metric?
Well, that was one.
What was it? Was it Phil Spencer?
That was 2.
What was it? Peter Moore?
I mean, that was 3. Yeah.
Oh, right. So you have 3 bad leaders running your.
I wouldn't say bad leaders. I wouldn't say bad leaders.
Okay, you have 3 great leaders that failed.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think one thing to really keep in mind is, that studios fumble, they make mistakes. Sony made their mistake. So did Xbox.
No. Don't. Studios fumble. No. Sony didn't fumble. Sega didn't fumble when they had to compete against Nintendo.
Sega fumbled.
Sorry?
Sega's fumbles are
Sega
worse.
Didn't fumble when they were
Sega's fumbles are far worse than anything that Xbox
Sega
has done.
did not fumble when they were the underdog coming up against Nintendo. They stepped up to the moment and they ended up having more than 50% of the market.
Okay, and then what happened to the market?
Sony came in and fucked everybody up. Nintendo didn't fumble when they came in with Atari, and the gaming business was dead. And they brought that thing. They give that thing, like, mouth to mouth. Brought gaming back to life when nobody wanted gaming. Period. And then they became the biggest player, and they went to release the NES, the Game Boy, the most successful console in terms of historically. And then they went on to make the Super Nintendo. Sony, I would go as far as saying, is the most successful company because they've always been consistent when it comes to console wars. They know that they're there to kill everyone, leave nothing standing. The only time they almost failed is the only time Microsoft almost succeeded. And then after that, Microsoft went to have the worst run, where Sony went to have a legendary run that is unstoppable today. And the one thing I always come back to, Tai, is the fact that at the end of the day, we understand one thing about business. Money rules over everything. And when you have the experience, you have the technicians, you have and you fail like there are three. If Xbox failed, Tai, after let's say the Xbox One had gone on to dominate gaming, I would understand. But Xbox has never had a console that finished in a firm second. The Xbox has always been third place, except for the Xbox. The most successful Xbox, and I've said this to you, the most successful Xbox in terms of positioning in the market was the original Xbox. Did better than the 360. So I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced when anyone tries to pitch me the fact that Xbox at some point in time.
So you're right. Sony came in and took everyone's lunch, but the question I think is pretty interesting here is that apparently Sega went from, at least in the United States, they had like 40% of the market share before the PS1 launched. And then with the Sega Saturn, they dropped significantly to apparently 6% globally.
Yeah, it was like 13% the last time I checked.
Yeah, so I guess you might not call that a fumble, but if you go from maybe 40% or 35% to 6%, that feels like a fumble to me.
No, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that they didn't fumble their opportunity to dominate gaming. They beat Nintendo during the 16-bit era. With the Genesis and the Mega Drive, they crushed Nintendo. Xbox has never won a console. They've always finished third in every single console war, except for the original Xbox, which managed to edge out the GameCube and come second. And I think that matters. If you were talking about competition, you can think that doesn't, but that's competition. Sony has only ever come second once, and that was with the PS3. They've only ever come second once, and that was beating Xbox's best console during that generation, which was the 360. After that, they've won every single console war convincingly, with no doubt.
Yeah, I mean they have. They're powerful, they're great, but just because you're losing a console war doesn't mean you should give up, though.
All right, man. I know how you're very optimistic. Okay, cool. Talking about losing.
Well, it's not about it's not even about optimism. It's just that it doesn't make sense for them to shut down any of their PC storefronts.
No, I'm not saying shut it down, but I'm just saying second
point. It doesn't make sense for them to not release a console.
Well, I say go ahead, give it your best.
No. I don't know what that means. I'm saying it doesn't make sense for them to not release a console. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I agree. They still have an audience. They still have an audience of 30 million people that might buy that console. But if I look at how they've lost users from generation to generation, if they've got about
I can agree with you. So then you're not actually disagreeing with anything I've said then, because what I'm saying is that they should do what they do. You're saying they should be a third party publisher, but then you just feel but keep your PC storefront and also release.
Well, again, it's that whole walk and chew thing. You can put a console out. But I'm just saying, just be prepared, because reality is that console is not going to do shit. Coming after the series.
But that's fine. But again, my argument wasn't even anything to do with that. My argument was it makes sense for them to keep doing these things, which is AKA keep having Game Pass, keep your PC storefronts, keep doing cloud, and keep releasing a console. And you just said there that you agree. So yeah.
I agree. Keep doing it to the same level. Sorry, not even to the same level of success that you have now. To the lesser success that you have now. So for instance, very simple. Let's say that and I'm being not generous here, but because the last amount I saw was 58 million. Let's say that the Xbox One sold 15 million units or had 58 million users at the time, right? When it last, when it was on the market. And then that went from 58 million down to 35, 38, I think was the last amount I saw. Fine, you can do that. But the next console you release is probably going to be, you're looking at like 12 million. And based on what I just saw recently with the news saying that, like, no, it's definitely going to be expensive because component prices are going to affect it. So you're looking literally about 12 to 15 million. You want the 12 to 15 million people and they still giving you money, go ahead, do that. But to me, that's not competing. That's you existing. If you want to exist within that little niche, that's fine. But you're not competing with the guys that are selling 100 million units.
Yeah, for sure. But there's success within the space where
That's
you don't
fine.
need to you don't need to directly sell like 100 million. Like I always say the example of Bing. Bing, is still alive. It still makes them money, profits. Why would they get rid of it? Because
no, that's fine. I'm not
Google.
saying they should. Look, Ty, even if if you've ever participated in a marathon, even if you finished number 25, they still give you a medal. So good for them. They get a participation medal.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you want to call it participation.
That's what I'm saying. Is that they're just a participant. They're the richest participant and probably the worst competitor. They get a medal. It's fine. They finished 20th. It's fine. They get a medal. Good. Thank you for participating, Microsoft.
Xbox third quarterly revenue has been released.
Anyways, Fuzzy. Fuzzy, I didn't see that you were in here. Fuzzy,
Xbox quarterly revenue has been released. Gaming revenue down by 7%. Xbox content and services revenue down by 5%. Xbox hardware revenue down by 33%.
When is this now? Is this new stuff?
Yeah, just happened just there.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that. No, we can talk about it if you want.
Fuzzy, no, we don't talk about it. I mean, it's not. I actually personally think that they shouldn't be releasing these details anymore.
And the thing is, they've done that before. That's when they decided that that was Phil's decision not to announce console numbers anymore. So people had to speculate. So they can do that if they wanted to. Fuzzy, welcome in. So awesome to have you. So we've had Raichi, we've had Fuzzy, we've had Vincent Vega. My night is made. When the three of you guys show up, I know that we've had a good show. So Fuzzy says the 360 was clearly the winner that gen. Doesn't matter that Sony snuck in at the end selling PS3s for longer. But the thing is, so Fuzzy, that's the thing I'm saying about Sony. Sony is that petty about Sony is so precious about consoles, right? They're so precious about gaming that Sony will do that so that they can have the W. Even if it's only what's the word that I'm looking for? Even if it's only a window dressing or a marketing thing. And everyone that was following this whole close battle between the PS2 and I think one of the Nintendo DSs or portables will know this, that Sony did the same thing there. They went, because of the fact that they wanted to get a one-up on Nintendo, they went and announced, oh, by the way, the PS2 is still the best-selling console in the world. And then they gave numbers out, which a lot of people doubted. But that's how precious Sony is about console gaming. And my thing is, Xbox in anything gaming has never been that precious about anything. The closest thing that Xbox has been precious about when it comes to gaming is probably Game Pass. Because Xbox has proven that they don't care about Halo. They don't care about Gears. They don't care about the actual game franchises. Threw those game franchises away for, to put money into nonsense indie games that went nowhere. So what I'm saying to you is that Sony is that petty. They care that much about their brand, Fuzzy, and I'm in complete agreement with you that they're willing to do that stuff with, they're gonna sneak diss PS3s to win the console war against the 360. Because they know that when we look back in history, we're gonna say, who won that? Oh, 360 did. And I always say to people, the 360 dominated America and Europe, but internationally, Sony was the victor. And I always point out to people, oh, by the way, both Sony and Microsoft were owned by Nintendo. That was Nintendo's biggest comeback. The reason people care so much about Nintendo today, about the Switch and the Switch 2, is because of how successful the Wii was in putting Nintendo back into the conversation. That was, in my opinion, that was the best war. That was the most interesting war, and I think everyone earned their victory there. Nintendo earned their place. Sony earned their re-up because Sony was not gonna finish third. Like you can go back in anything in history. Sony never finished third in a console war. They came the worst that they did was number 2. Well, I suppose you can say that. Yeah, they were number 2 after the Wii. Xbox has always finished third except for the original Xbox. And in the numbers, when that money no longer matters, that's what history remembers. They look at what's in the history books. And I just don't think that stuff is important to Xbox or to Microsoft, which is why they suck at it. But anyways, speaking about that, Ty, let's move away from your favorite subject and go to my favorite subject. You saw that Steam released a controller this week.
Yes, I did.
So, guys, if you didn't see the poster, it's basically a Steam controller, and I basically asked the question, and I'm asking this question to the chat: is the Steam machine dead on arrival? Because if the controller is going to be $100, and I've been watching the reviews of the controller from some of the sites that I trust in terms of gaming, not Gamers Nexus, I forgot the name of the channel. I'll post it up, but all those guys are saying the same thing, and they're saying, oof, if this is the price of the controller and the hardware prices are where they are now, we predict that the Steam machine is going to actually come in at a price that's higher than the PS5 Pro. And then immediately, like the moment you say that to me, I cringe and I say, yeah, that thing is fucked. Dead on arrival, which is the heading or the title of this this episode. I don't think that the Steam machine can survive at that price point. The Steam machine, to me, ideally should have been a machine that was going to be around $500 US. The moment we're talking $900 for an entry-level PC that just happens to have Steam branding on it, chat, tell me, if you're a PC gamer, does that give you value? Does it add value? I don't think so. Ty?
This is one device that it does look cool, and I think, if you're a PC gamer, I can see why you might be interested. Many people have pointed out that the Elite controllers from Xbox and PlayStation or whatever are around maybe $80. So this is $20 extra. If it does everything it wants to do for your Steam game, and if you wanted an Elite controller, then I guess this is for you. I think where maybe people might have an issue is that they expect controllers to kind of have like a cheaper version available, like a kind of basic version, and then you can then start going towards the higher tiers. So the fact that maybe this version is releasing at 100 instead of maybe 70, and then you then release a second one that maybe has more of the bells and whistles is a problem. But at the same time, maybe they're also coming to the conclusion that every controller can work on a PC with Bluetooth or whatever it is. So that market's already being catered for. But a high-tech controller that syncs with your Steam account, maybe this is that audience that we're chasing. We're not looking for the maybe more casual kind of audience for this, because they already have a controller for themselves. I haven't looked too much into like all the features and things that it can do, but from all the reviews I saw, they liked it. They thought it was a good device. Now, price-wise, is it worth it? No, but I think this is one of those devices where it's not. It has an audience, and Valve knows that audience. They know a €100 controller is going to be a problem, but it's not meant for the people who are looking at it thinking this is too expensive. Now, when it comes to the actual console itself, could this be a foretelling of how much the hardware will be? Well, who knows? Like, one thing definitely is that you don't want to, take a loss on the Steam controller. And one thing definitely is that, like, you don't really care if the Steam controller is selling like crazy. Like, it's not really your goal. You actually want to make a decent profit of that. However, what you definitely don't want to really do is maybe be losing out. You want to make a decent profit off probably the Steam controller. But with the hardware, you're probably willing to take some kind of maybe break-even point, because that's the one that's meant to actually bring you money via the sales, right? So I think that one can kind of justify itself. But a Steam controller, breaking even, taking a loss, that will never justify itself.
Yeah, no, I hear where you're coming from, and I agree with a lot of what you said. My only thing is like, again, like to me, it's kind of weird. Like, why would you release a PS5 controller before you release the PS5? Why would you release an Xbox? The thing is, Xbox, I suppose it doesn't work because they've used the same controller since the Xbox One. But even then, when they released a new console, it came with a brand new controller that was exclusive to that console, even though it was a slight tweak of the previous controller. I just find it weird that you're going to release a controller with no console. And I just wonder, like, if your controller costs $99 and the hard, like, I think I was watching, I think it was Linus or someone was doing the comparison, and the memory situation there included, plus, or was it just the memory situation? It was memory, and I think it was the RAM included. I mean, they were looking at, like, already you're looking at Valve forking out something like $290 something for the console before every other component is counted, because they want to ship this Steam machine with the controller, which is putting $100 markup on the console for the consumer. So again, I'm a pro Steam guy, and I'm positive, but I can almost guarantee you, unless things change significantly, which is why we're getting the controller coming out I think it's the 10th of May, and there's no word and there's no release date for the Steam machine. If you ask me to speak honestly, the Steam machine is not going to release until they can bring those costs down. And when it does release, you're going to get a significantly very different console, because first of all, I don't think the Steam machine is coming out this year, and if they do release it, let's say next year, it's not going to have a 7600 in it. You're probably going to get a 9060 XT in that console, 8 gig 9060 XT. So it's going to be a significantly different machine than what we have now. So I think what happened recently, given all the information I have, the Steam machine experiment for now has failed again, because it's not going to come out. They can't release it. There's no ways they want to compete with the PS Pro and then charge $950 for that thing, with like the same spec as an entry-level PC, not just or a mid-range PC. Just makes no sense. So Fuzzy says they know the Steam machine isn't going to sell much. Doesn't really matter when they release the controller. I agree with you. I think they've considered that they've looked at the numbers and said, look, this thing is not going to take off. We've already spent a lot of R&D and our own money creating this controller, which again, I think the design has a lot of flaws. I don't like that Steam controller. Like, I would have done so many things. I think it's an ugly ass controller, and I think there's so many flaws in terms of design wise that you could. I put it to you that the design of the original Steam controller was more inspired than this thing. And that's just my opinion.
I think, listen, they just like what Fuzzy says, I don't think they expect to sell that much in the first place. I think they're fine there. But I do think they do want to reach a particular number that is reasonable and makes sense for them. Will it come out this year? It's been a while. The more you think about it, like, we were supposed to get updates some time ago, and we haven't. So I think, I mean, they said it was a release this year. I don't know if it will.
By April, you were supposed to have a price and a release date.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Would it release this year? I don't know, but so far they said it will. They clearly are not happy with where their price is going to be, and they're probably still dealing with some logistics. Probably even going back and forth saying, do we take certain things out maybe, or do we take a hit on this? How much profits do we want to make? When is the right time to announce this? Is the value proposition even that good anymore? I think they're dealing with these questions internally. But listen, some of y'all told me that like Steam don't mess with the controllers, they don't mess with hardware, they don't mess with the device. Now here you are backtracking, saying, "Oh, it's dead on arrival." Oh, that's interesting.
Hold on a damn minute, player. Who's back? No one. Like, look, I'm not backtracking anything. Steam is still like. I always say this to people that that came from console. That like, if you're looking for a like, let me actually not speak for anyone. I'm gonna speak for myself. You know why Steam like, because you always complain, oh, you guys, you always dig writing Steam, and I'm like, dude, like, there's a reason why, because it's exceptional in what they do. As a person that was so like, and this is not even that far ago, like as a person that was completely disgruntled with the console industry, specifically, I was like, first of all, I was like just disgruntled with Xbox because they failed to deliver on anything that they promised me. And then when I studied the industry further after Xbox's failure, I noticed that like we're never gonna go back to the era where console gaming was competitive, and as a result of it being competitive, we as the consumers got the best games, got the best deals, and the industry was exciting. And that really brought me down a lot. I was like, you know what? I feel like like I've been I felt like my fealty to the hobby was over. And then I accidentally stumbled on Steam when I got the Rogue Ally, and I was like, this is interesting. For the first time, I don't care about exclusive games. For the first time, I don't care about the hardware that's running my games. Why? Because I don't like playing games on like I've played games on Windows before. I hated it. It was a horrible experience. That's why I ended up being a PC gamer. Sorry, a console gamer. Because playing games on, if you go back to the prior, let me say, when I played games on PC, it was pre 2012, pre 2010, and playing games on Windows was horrible, man. It was a ass experience, and I'm like, wow, like for the first time, I feel like playing games on PC is actually a fun experience. You don't have to be a nerd to do it. There's not a million discs to put into your hard drive to install. There were so many conveniences about Steam and picking up Steam now that made me actually fall back in love with PC gaming. And the reasons I hated PC gaming, because it was a horrible. The reason I moved, because I started my main gaming on PC, and I moved to console because PC gaming was just too much of a hassle. Like there were the graphics cards were not where they needed to be. The patches for the graphics cards were where they not needed to be back in those days. Because Nvidia and AMD were trying to figure their shit out back then. But console, you could just pop in a game and play. So the one thing that brought me back to PC gaming is just how well Steam does everything on PC gaming, that it actually wants you. It's the one thing that actually made me want to game on PC, and a lot of people forget that like, motherfucker, gaming on PC once upon a time was a nerd thing because you needed to have all this knowledge and information about how to run these games on your damn PC. And I'm not talking about 1990 something. I'm talking about 2014, 2015. When Microsoft's own games like Halo ran like ass on Windows Vista. So I find that Steam is very refreshing if you want to get out of the whole console war. You want to get out. In fact, if you want to have the most positive gaming experience with no caveats to speak of, Steam is the platform to go. And I think a lot of people have found Steam and will continue to find Steam. Would I have loved for Steam to have a console to go hand in hand with that works as well as SteamDeck? Yeah, sure. Especially when it comes to the affordability side, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So they've failed there. It's the second time the the Steam machine has failed. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. An L is an L.
Well, yeah, I guess in that context, could be seen as an L. I think in other contexts, maybe not. Like, we'll still wait for the device to come. I will see what we get. I've always kind of maintained that the Helix is probably what most people would gravitate towards, simply because I think from a price to value ratio, it's going to be good. However, given that Helix might not have Steam or Epic or any of these storefronts on its device, I think that actually hurts the value proposition of Helix. Like, truth be told, it really does. Because now you're not really targeting the pre-built PC markets per se. You're targeting, I mean, it's tricky because if you can still go into desktop mode, then voila, it's still a pre-built PC, right? So you can just circumvent all this. So you don't actually, so I don't know if you're going to actually lose users because they're just going to be like, okay, I'll just go into desktop mode. Thank you for the device that's giving me great value from a price perspective. I just use it as a normal PC. So I guess in that sense, then yeah, it works. But overall, I think it does is kind of its shine that, like, hey, you can actually play Steam games, on this device. But yeah, I think that's all future talk. We'll find out exactly what they're gonna do with it. Richie says Taye will be able to say in point of view Kodak didn't fail. In the point of view Kodak didn't fail. Funny guy.
That's what he was. They competed. That's what he's gonna say, is that they were competitive.
But yeah, like the Steam machine thing, I think there's some people out there who still like it and they'll probably look to buy it. And we'll see. And the controller as well does, it seems like everyone who's played it or used it has liked it. So again, I think this is a very specific market. I think audiences need to kind of understand that, like, just because something is out of your price range or something doesn't seem like it's for you, it probably means it's not for you. It's fine for them to put multiple price ranges. I would never buy a PS5 Pro. Not only, like, is that my price range for a console? Yes, but not only is it out of my price range for a console, I mean, to some extent, I'm just not interested in this. But there's people out there who want that extra, pixels or whatever the hell like the PS5 Pro does, and that's perfectly fine. I know there's people out there who buy phones for 400 or 500 euros, and then there's people out there who buy phones for 1,000 euros. Like the 1,000 euro phone or 1.2K phone is not meant for the main audience. It's not meant for the person who thinks 1,000 is too much. There's multiple devices out there, and because there's multiple devices out there, we can all get what we want.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Ty is right. Like I go to Ty for my gaming enthusiasm. Whenever I feel down about gaming, like, he'll give you a nice vision.
Just the facts, bro.
I don't know about facts, but he'll paint a nice picture for you with all the bells and whistles. But anyway, like, Richie is such a comedian. Richie says $100 for a PS4 controller with no audio jack. That was true at one point in time. Like, and I loved it. Like, I didn't like the PS4 controller. It's one of the reasons why I actually hesitated to get a PS4 for the longest time. It's because I played it. The graphics were, and again, it was like, unless you actually play the games back to back, you won't know the difference. But dude, that controller felt so flimsy compared to the Xbox One controller, which I thought was the perfect evolution from the 360 controller. And it's what actually held me back from, because I was this close to pulling the trigger on the PS4. And then, but that controller, man, like, now I have it. It's actually, I use it so much for my PC gaming. And I love the fact that it's light and it's very different from my Xbox controllers. But back then, it didn't resonate with me. It didn't hit. But anyways, Ty, we're just over 2 hours and 34 minutes. I'm good to wrap this up, and whatever we don't finish, we'll finish on Friday, since it is a freaking working day tomorrow. I think, yeah, Ty, let's take this one home. I think we've had a good show. We had Loke on, unfortunately, who had to leave prematurely. You know how it is with us here in the super advanced first world in Wakanda land. Yeah, there's always a million and one things that can go wrong and that often do go wrong. Guys, do not take your first world status for granted, like Taye. I think Taye takes for granted that he's in the first world. Taye, anything else that you want us to talk about before we go?
No, there's nothing else to really talk about. I've been considering going back to Replaced, and I don't think I will. Not because I'm not interested in it, but I've seen enough reviews from people who've kind of confirmed what I was feeling about the game, which is that it becomes somewhat repetitive and it kind of relies on, the atmosphere and the graphics to carry on. The story, some people did like the story and they said, yeah, that was good. And the game is a short game, but it's just one of those games where I feel like I'm not as invested in the story and the gameplay is not gonna catch my attention. So, like, believe it or not, the part of me feels like once what I've played is probably the majority of the game. Like what you see now on screen is probably what really the game is, more or less. Like, that's a really core part of the game. And that part was okay, but I'm like, that's not enough.
How's the combat?
I think it's Batman Arkham style, like you firefight, somebody like tries to attack you, then you dodge or you counter, like you parry. It's very parry focused. When it's red, you have to dodge. When it's yellow, you have to parry. And there's monsters and there's different executions. Like, so it's a cool game to play. But once I finished like 5 rounds of enemies, I was like, oh, I think that's it. Like, I think this is like it. And I was like, yeah, I don't think
the game loop is not very interesting for you.
No, the look is interesting, but the look is not enough.
No, not the look, the loop, the game loop in terms of like what you do from moment to moment.
Yeah, but I think the issue that it's gonna have is I'm not really a big fan of I'm not a big fan of 2D games.
Oh,
but I think 2D games can get like repetitive somewhat because they're just less to do. Because for example, even when I was playing the replay share, I was saying to myself like, oh wait, if I want to backtrack, how does that look like? Oh, it's just backtracking. Like, that's it. I was like, if I wanted to go do, like, I can't go anywhere else really. So it just kind of felt like, oh, like this, like there's only one way to do certain things. Like, you have to just keep moving.
But isn't this what you wanted? Was more linear experiences, no more open world where you can do everything? Because this is the opposite of Cyberpunk, and it's a Cyberpunk game.
Yeah, so I think what maybe hurts it is someone is the 2D. Like, you're seeing some of the 2D elements here, and it's okay. Listen, keep in mind, I haven't played that much of it, so I am a bit, like, I'm being judgmental at the opening part. And like I always tell you, I can't review a game if I've just played it for like a little bit, because the game could have more or deeper or go into deeper territory. But a lot of people who I know, they have finished it or they've got a couple hours in, and they just kind of said like, oh, I got bored of it because it was, it was a bit like, repetitive, and I kind of felt that way playing it. And this is not a damnation, like don't play it or whatever it is. I'm just saying that, like, it feels like I'm not going to enjoy it as much, or it didn't hook me enough. The gameplay didn't hook me enough for me to say, oh, cool. And the story didn't hook me enough either for me to say, let me keep playing this. Put it this way, Pragmata looks like it's going to hook me more, but even I'm not going to play that right now. But Pragmata looks like, yeah, that would hook me more.
Yeah. You think you're ready to be a daddy? A video game daddy.
Yeah.
I'm so not into those daddy simulator. I don't get the fascination of having some stupid ass kid, whether it's Atrios or look, she's adorable and whatever. I don't know. I don't see the appeal in all that day. Well, I don't know. Like, I've never and again, maybe it's because I don't have kids of my own that it doesn't resonate with me. But I don't see myself ever buying Pragmata. For any reason, for that matter. Like, I don't think it looks bad. I don't think there's... In fact, it's a more attractive game to me than Crimson Desert. But I would probably still, if you gave me a choice, probably choose Crimson Desert over being playing that game, which is a robot android daddy simulator. It's just weird to me. Like I don't see the appeal. But that's just me. So I actually wanted to ask you one last question about this game, Replaced Ty. What device are you playing it on?
I'm playing it on my Xbox PC.
I think that's probably a huge part of the problem. I'm gonna download it on my ROG Ally, and to me, this looks like a game that I would enjoy playing in little bits on like a portable console. Where if, like, for instance, like I bus to like the other side of the country, which is like 1,000. Is it 1,000? Yeah, it's about 1,000 kilometers. So when I'm on a journey like that, I think a game like this would actually keep me very well occupied. And I only revisit it whenever I pull out my handheld and have to play for, extended amount of times. But this is not a game I would play on my PC.
You know what? I think that's a very good shout. And I think if I was playing it on a handheld, definitely be different. Because like I said, there are some games that are just handheld. And you know what? That could just be it. Like, thanks for actually raising that, because I think that might be a huge factor as well. There are just some games that I'm just not concerned about PC. The Altars is a game that I was actually really enjoying, but even that game kind of felt like I should be playing it on the handheld as well. So I definitely Replaced is that kind of game.
Awesome. I agree with you there. Like, I can see this game taking up a lot of my time, in the in-between. In fact, I would go as far as saying, like, because I commute daily to go to work, for that 20 minutes I'm on the train, I wouldn't mind figuring out a puzzle or whatever it has to, and then put my thing away, and then lunchtime pull out my roguelike again and just do that for the hour, and then go back to what I'm doing. Like, to me, that's what I appreciate about 2D games, and the one game that's really made me appreciate that more now is the main game I'm playing on my handheld, which is Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, and that game is perfect, priceless. Like, if I could insert that Homelander meme where he says everything was perfect, I would insert it here, because that game works so well on my ROG Ally, graphically, in every way. I play that every single time I'm on the train, every time I'm commuting on a long journey. It's my go-to. But anyways, we're gonna go to the comments before we leave and we peace out. Let's see if there's anything new. So Taya, thank you for engaging with the guys in the comments. I see you guys are having some interesting conversation here. Richie says, each week passes, the less excited I get about Valve's console. Yeah, same here, man. Like, it's one of those things that was great. Like, I saw the opportunity, I realized the potential, but I just think like its time has passed. Like, we're past where that could have been a thing that works, unless Valve can pull off a miracle and launch that thing at about, and again, 5 is the sweet spot. 5 to 6 is the sweet spot. That thing will do gangbuster business. But at 9, get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck is gonna want to buy that shit? Like, with a 7600, an RX 7600. Get the fuck out of here, man. Like, that's just unreasonable to expect that from customers. Oh, so Rachel, you're Canadian. Who's my favorite Canadian? It's probably the most miserable Canadian I've ever watched or seen in my entire life, and that's Bret Hart. Awesome. Probably the greatest wrestler of all time in terms of overall statistics. But one of the most miserable people. I've never seen that guy not complain or bury someone in an interview. I don't know. Oh, good to hear, Richie, that you're Canadian. And yeah, man, lots of love from South Africa to Canada. I have a friend there that lives in Canada, actually. He's a photojournalist. Awesome guy. Ty, anything you want to plug? Are you working on anything? What happened to your programming? Did you stop? Are you still doing it?
No, nothing on my side. I'm kind of doing some other things. So I'm not making not content I'm making at the moment. Maybe in the future or something, maybe catches my attention. I'm kind of busy with some other things at the moment. So yeah. Nothing hurt.
Okay. All right, cool. Do you have any? You asked me about wrestling games. Do you have any wrestling games? Do you play wrestling games?
No, the last wrestling game I played was the PlayStation 1 game. So sorry, the GameCube ones, I believe, from Day of Reckoning, which was on the GameCube version.
Day of Reckoning 1 and 2, WrestleMania X8. Those are all the GameCube ones.
Yeah, the Day of Reckoning 1 games were really good. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
and the Raw versus SmackDown ones were okay. It's actually interesting because it was like 3 different games, for 3 different platforms.
Yeah, there were different developers too for those games,
which was the very interesting way to do it.
It was, and it worked for the longest time. Where it started to suck is when one developer, which was Yerkes, was making one game for all the consoles, which started with the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Before that, there were different developers for all the wrestling games on the different consoles.
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one because it definitely made sense to make one for all 3 consoles.
Yeah, financially, you save a lot of money. You don't have to pay 3 different studios to make the same brand. Once they put everything under one, and this was not even 2K, this was still when it was THQ, they made the decision that, instead of like making a sequel to No Mercy, Day of Reckoning, and all those games on Xbox and all the other games, because I suppose it was just Xbox and PlayStation left at that time, why don't we just get Yerkes to make one game that goes and we port it to both consoles? And yeah, just interesting.
I mean, yeah, at the same, but I remember seeing the raw version of the Xbox One. It was quite slow, and it wasn't good. And I remember seeing the PlayStation. Xbox used to have Raw the game because Sony had SmackDown.
Yeah, Raw was horrible. Like, I played Raw because the Raw 1, the first Raw, was also released on PC. One of the worst wrestling games I've ever played. Raw 2 was quite a significant step up, but it never came out on PC.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, because what happens is you want a great wrestling experience, but then one console has that experience, and it's just kind of like now you're forced to deal with the crappy ones. Because the WrestleMania ones, I didn't think they were better than the. I thought they were quite unique and different in ways, but I didn't think they were better than the SmackDown ones. But then when Day of Reckoning came out, I mean, I preferred it overall, I think, but at the same time,
yeah, Day of Reckoning was good. Like, you're talking to a wrestling enthusiast who's I've played some of the emulator version of those games. I've played all the ones that were released officially on PlayStation and Xbox, and I'll tell you, Day of Reckoning 2 is one of my favorite wrestling games in terms of overall. And I feel that the older wrestling games actually did wrestling more justice than the modern ones. So I agree with you. I completely agree with you, is that that rotation made it interesting. For me, I'm not a big fan of the SmackDown versus Raw games. I like the SmackDown games up until PS2 when they were just the SmackDown games. The peak of those games was Here Comes the Pain. I feel that everything that came after Here Comes the Pain was far less than what we got up until that point on the SmackDown games or the SmackDown franchise. Fuzzy says, I get WWE 2K every year when it's cheap. No need to get them. So I skip a couple of years depending on the differences. So I'm still playing 2024 Fuzzy. I have not bought 2025, and I'm probably not going to buy 2026 because everybody is hating on that game. But 2024 is still serving me. And as much as people hate this game or hate on this game, and I'm not an AEW fan, I've never watched a single episode of AEW. I love AEW. What is it? Was it Fight for Elite? What is it? Whatever it is called. But like, yeah, I love AEW. Let me just check quickly on my library. Fight Forever. I love AEW Fight Forever. I really enjoy the graphic style. It reminds me so much of playing No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 on N64. Really, really, for some reason, I'm one of the few people that does that, that loves that. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining us. This has been an awesome show. Loved the chat, loved the conversation that we're having there. Sorry, one more. So Reishi says, yeah, I played a lot of Day of Reckoning. Yeah, it's one of the best, man. Like, and it's on game. Like, I've got such fond memories of GameCube, and I've never played GameCube. I've only played it through emulators. It was so awesome. Such good memories of that game. Fuzzy also says the first few SmackDown versus Raw games were good. Look, I didn't like the original SmackDown versus Raw game. I liked SmackDown versus Raw 2006 that introduced the GM mode. Was it 2005 or 2006? I think it was 2006. I didn't like the original one with the Vince McMahon cover. The SmackDown versus Raw. I think 2005 is the first one I liked. I think that's the one that had Batista and Cena on the cover. That's 2005. That's the first one that had the manager mode. That one was good. I didn't hate on that one. After that, 2007 I liked, and then after that everything started to feel the same. And then they went into this direction where they started to do simulation, which I didn't like. But yeah, no, all those games were good. Like compared to today's wrestling games, the worst SmackDown versus Raw games were 5-star, if we have to use a wrestling term. Guys, thank you for joining us. This was an awesome show. I had so much fun today. So much damn fun. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys on Friday again. Same time, same place, or around the same time, same place. Today we started a little bit later. But yeah, same time, same place here on Friday. Yeah, man. Always happy to have the players in the player circle. And player number 1 and player number 2 are out. We'll see you guys Friday. Cheers, guys.